Welcome back to the Top 6 show, a little earlier than normal due to the Tottenham playing this evening. Loads to delve into after what was an epic night of football. The title race blown wide open again. Set pieces causing people to cry. Ridiculous criticism from my Ruben, who I will be defending tonight. Chelsea injecting themselves proper into the title race. Liverpool slipping up at the death. And Man City finally winning another game. A brilliant panel for you tonight. We've got more people coming along. They're just not here yet. So the panel's going to grow. We've got Igal. We've got Henry, who's back from his holiday with a cut eyebrow, I see. What happened? Did your girlfriend knock you out? Get into the missus give you a slap? You got a little cut in your eyebrow.
Not that I know of.
Hang on, let's have a look. Let's put it in big. Look. Oh no, it's just your eyebrows sticking up. I thought it was a cut. Sorry, mate. It's because you got dodgy eyebrows. We've got Giuseppe, who's got a line through his eyebrow, or is that natural?
That's Scar.
Oh, that's Scar. Okay. I thought man was put like shaving lines in.
Eyebrows.
I know, 2 of you in a row. And then David's here as well. Brilliant panel tonight. Excited for the show. How are we all, gentlemen? Well?
Yeah, man.
Again,
rattling the fan bases. Rattling every fan base.
Oh man, today has been hilarious. I love it.
Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, Igal, when I said to you when you were talking about Phil Foden and sort of setting a precedent, where I said that if you do those types of things, it can sometimes create a situation where you undo a legacy of your own club or whatever it may be. The biggest bugbear I've got with Man United fans crying about your set pieces is we won a Champions League with 2 set pieces in a row. And if we're going to suddenly start saying that they're not real goals. By the way, I read a stat today. Since the beginning of 2023, I think Arsenal in the Premier League have scored 122 goals. 22 of them are set pieces. So this idea that it's just annoying, and I don't like the analysis. I don't like the tears. I think it's all a little bit weird, if I'm being absolutely honest with you. The way I've seen people crying about the set pieces, it's a little strange to me personally. But
Terry,
yeah,
it's not just fans. It's not just fans. Apparently, Tottenham Hotspur and a couple other Premier League clubs went to the Premier League and said that there's something dodgy going on. It needs to be investigated. They investigated it, and they tried to implement rule changes around grabbing onto players and doing stuff like that. And we're still doing it. It's like they changed the rules and we're still scoring goals from set pieces. So it's hilarious.
It is. By the way, big up to Rahman here. He shouts out to us. Congratulations and happy 30th birthday, Rahman. Have a great day. I hope you celebrate hard.
City fan, right?
Yes, Rahman is a Manchester City fan. So at least you got to win before your birthday. But we will be delving into last night's game a little bit more. We're talking Chelsea in the title race, the big clash this weekend as well for Chelsea versus the Tottenham. But I did want to start with Liverpool, and I want to say this. We have been inundated with Liverpool fans who have wanted to come on the Top 6 show for the past 2 months. Today, KJ was scouring all around Earth. He even contacted Elon Musk to see if we could go to Mars. Couldn't find one. Not available. Niente. Okay. But we're going to start with Liverpool because they had a little bit of a slip up yesterday, gents. They were behind. They're playing poorly. But then they got into the lead, little fortuitously maybe. Could Van Dijk have got a red card? Should they have conceded a penalty? But they get the lead in the game. And then right at the end, Kelleher, who's been excellent for them, decides to let a ball go. They concede. They drop points. A little bit of vulnerability shown. I'll throw it out there to the panel.
I'm just going to start off by saying Mo Salah, every game cannot save you. Other players are going to have to step up because defensively, Kelleher made mistakes. You had Joe Gomez making mistakes. You had the right back Kwanzaa making mistakes. But Mo Salah was doing a carry job, trying to get you guys back into the game, got you in a winning position, and he can't save you every week. 75% of Liverpool's goal contributions this season in the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken, come from Mo Salah. That is not a recipe any team wants. You don't want 75% of your goals coming from one player. It's good when you're winning and you're getting results, but it can quickly turn left if he gets injured or if he's not capable of rising up. And I'm just looking at Liverpool and I'm saying, who else is going to rise up if Mo Salah doesn't do so? Because yesterday he did that. No one else really could help him out.
This is why I've said to Arsenal fans, like, we got to keep winning games and just worry about winning games, because like Liverpool, when you watch them, I think they're a Salah injury away from actually dropping loads of points in games. But I think they've been good this season, but I think it's been more that Salah's just been unreal this season. He's currently the best player in world football. And yesterday showed it. I think they got away with one yesterday. I don't think they should have even got a point out of the game when you see some of the decisions that happened in the game. Yeah, man, I think they're showing some vulnerability, but I think they have done. Even the week before, a dodgy, they want to moan about Kelleher's mistake the week before against Southampton, goalkeeping error, a penalty that for me is never a penalty. So I think that this is why the teams below us, Chelsea, even still City, have to be looking at Liverpool game. I see them dropping points. I don't think this is a Liverpool. If City was 9 points clear, it'd be a different story if they were playing like this. I think Liverpool will drop points. And yesterday showed it from winning and conceding in the 90th minute. That's a big result to drop. Definitely when your next game's Everton, who's just won 4-0 and it's the derby and it's away at Everton. You know, they could then see them drop points again and Arsenal win and Chelsea win on the weekend, and then all of a sudden the gap closes even more, and then pressure starts.
I don't know. I think it's a little disingenuous to call them Mo Salah FC. They've been the best team on both sides of the ball, so I think it's a little bit. You know what I mean? I think part of it is hope. I get it, because you guys firmly believe you can win this title, so you guys are looking for any hope like you can to.
David, do you know their third highest goal scorer in the Premier League has 2 goals? That's the same as Thomas Partey for Arsenal.
Yeah, that's fine, but like they've barely been conceding goals. Yesterday was an anomaly for them. They haven't conceded 3 goals in ages.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, that's fair. But David, I'll rebuttal that by saying, like, when you look at Arsenal and even you guys, we've only lost 2 games. A lot of the games have been draws. These guys have conceded enough goals to get draws, but what happens when they're losing against us? Salah. When they're just about winning against Aston Villa, Salah. When Newcastle are beating them, Salah, and then Salah again. Do you know what I mean? Like, Salah's been clutch for them this season, and that's why I think they're not. All right, cool. Salah FC might be a bit harsh because I think Van Dijk's been quality. I think Trent's been quality. I think Gravenberch has been quality this season. But I think he's been that guy for them. That's the reason. I don't think they're that far ahead without Salah this season at all. I think that they're in the mix.
Do you know what I would say? Sorry, I was going to say, to defend Liverpool, the one that I understand he scored a lot of their goals. But last season, when Mo Salah missed about 2 months, I don't think they lost a game. So they have this Liverpool team. I know Klopp was the manager, but I think they look better this year without Klopp, to be honest. They've won games and not collapsed when Romz here with us now. We have got a Liverpool fan in the house. I love it. Like, I've seen Liverpool without Mo Salah over a number of seasons, and they've won games. I wouldn't necessarily call them Mo Salah FC. They've got other players that can step up and score goals. Gakpo, as an example, can score goals. Diaz is having a good season. Of course, if they lost Salah for 6 months, it would have a huge dent. The same as if you guys lost Odegaard any longer than you did, it would be a big dent for you. But I don't necessarily think they're a one-man team. I just think he's so good. Do you know what I'm saying? If you guys didn't have Henry between sort of 1990, during the Invincible season, do you reckon you'd have gone invincible without Henry?
No,
probably not. And I think that's what he is. He's that stardust. But I wouldn't necessarily call Liverpool a one-man team personally.
Do you know why I think why that's disingenuous, right? Because obviously there's a player that we have out that, other than Salah's our best finisher, which is Diogo Jota. But this is the frustrating thing. He's never available. And I've always said, when it comes to summer, if we get a decent offer for him, we might have to entertain it, because there's no point having a good player and you hardly see him. But the reason why I think the one-man team stuff is disingenuous, if you don't remember last season, when our front three weren't really firing, you had McAllister winning us games, you had Trent winning us games, Konate and Van Dijk were scoring headers. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a one-man team. Because Salah's he's on course to have his best season at the age he is, I think it's easy to say we're a one-man team, because him and Rafinha are probably the 2 best players in world football right now. So I think it's easy to say that we're a one-man team. But we've seen when he's been removed from the team, other players have chipped in. So I think it's a bit disingenuous. However, I agree to the notion, if he's not here, we would have struggled. I mean, to be involved in 70% 72% of our goals it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And I'd like them to be more shared. But I think if and when Diogo Jota comes back in, because we were told it was 2 weeks, suddenly it's been 2 months that he's out. I think once he comes back in, it will relieve the pressure of Salah again, because he's our most natural finisher for me.
I will say this about yesterday, just quickly. Darwin Nunez had a game from hell. I mean, but them 2 misses from him. I'll be honest with you. I played football in the summer when we were at the Euros. He looked like us guys having a kickabout on a gravel pitch. Do you know what I mean? You know, he looks. In fairness, I went for a volley, and David will tell you, KJ lost the footage on his way back from Germany. I hit a volley that Darwin Nunez tried, and it hit the crossbar post and went in. Darwin Nunez, oh my God, it was beyond the shank.
It's
beyond
the
the
fact
shank.
that he didn't even get it on, because even if he gets on target, there was enough men to probably block the shot. But it's the fact it doesn't even go on target. It's got to the point you'll get a lot of Liverpool fans that are outraged. You know, when you just kind of accept someone for what they are now. Like, I can't be angry at him because this is what he is. It's unfortunate, but this is what he is, and I think he'll be one that we move on in the summer. We just have to cut our losses. It hasn't worked.
Was it you that tweeted something today along the? I mean, I think you tweeted this about the pedigree of number 9s that you've had at your club.
Tom,
Was it Tom Little? It was Tom. You retweeted. Maybe that's why I saw your name near it. And it is so true. And I just think, look, Liverpool fans, I know you lot as a collective are one of the best fan bases in the world at protecting your players, standing by them. But Darwin Nunez could be the difference between a player of Darwin Nunez's level and an upgrade could be the difference between winning a Premier League title and missing out on it. Because when it comes to some of those, in the last 3 seasons, the amount of sitters that man has missed. Like, a lot of us have got strikers, for instance, who you look at and go, I wish we created more sitters for them. Darwin Nunez is the complete opposite. The amount he misses, and they're comical as well. It was, I mean, look, you guys, I think you were a little fortuitous to get a draw. You had Mo Salah's brilliance. I thought Van Dijk could have got a red card for what he did to Gordon. It was as deliberate as you like. And then I also thought you conceded a penalty or should have conceded a penalty in the game. Kwanzaa doesn't touch the ball. It's not a massive amount of contact, but Isak is running at full pace. It's enough to knock him over. I know they stuck with their on-field decision and they stuck to the protocol, which is fair. But you had Darwin Nunez had the opportunity in that game to put you 4-5 goals on the score sheet, which would have meant it doesn't matter about those decisions in the cold, hard light of day. You'd have walked. It doesn't matter about Kelleher's mistake. Even though Salah saved you, Darwin Nunez shouldn't be relieved of the criticism of missing those chances in the end because you didn't win. And I think that it's a long way to go. You're still 7 points clear, but I just looked at those Darwin Nunez moments and thought, oh, little moments like that could be the difference come May, you know?
Terry, especially the one that was a tap-in, because if I'm not mistaken, we were level at that point, and moments of a game are always key. I think if we go ahead, it relieves a lot of pressure. But I don't like to speak about refereeing decisions, but I actually think it was balanced. There's some Liverpool fans that call him disgrace, some Newcastle fans. I think he had decisions go but against each team, because for me, the foul leading into Shah's equaliser wasn't a foul. But then you look at the dying moments when the ref blows the whistle and they're on a 3v2. So I think this is graceful. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Gal. If that was my players going in and the whistle blows, I would be fuming.
No, I agree.
I would be fuming as well. But I just think.
Can I ask you a question? Did they score? Yeah, because there was 5 minutes of time added on, wasn't there? But there was a delay within the 5 minutes, I think, of like a minute of.
Terry, it was 11 seconds after extra time. It was 11 seconds after the allowed 5 minutes that they stopped it on the corner.
And what people fail to realize is added time is a minimum. It's not maximum.
It's a minimum. The question that Newcastle fans are asking, and it's fair, is if it was the other way around and you were running through on goal 2v1, would they have blown up? I remember another time. It's different to time added on, but I remember we played Man United versus Liverpool at Old Trafford. I went to the game, and I remember the day vividly because it was the day after my work. Barclays used to do its Christmas parties in January. Strange because it was cheaper. Because you'd have got so much money. But anyway, and it was the day after. I got picked up at 2 a.m. at this party by the lads I used to go Old Trafford with. That's why I remember the day so vividly. And we won the game in the end. But there was a moment where your goalkeeper, and I want to say it was Pepe Reina at the time. This must have been about 2013, 14, something like that. So maybe it was Pepe Reina, maybe it was Mignolet.
Yeah.
And he was down injured, right? And you guys carried on attacking, and you nearly scored. But we cleared the ball and countered. And as we're countering, the ref said, no, you can't play on because they've got the goalkeeper down injured. And I remember the level of anger that drew up through me. As hang on, if they're okay to play on, you've got to allow the counterattack in the opposite direction, because I just find that's the way it should be. But yeah, look, referee yesterday I thought was really poor in that match. And, you know, it ended a draw. And there was calls for you guys to have a penalty. There was the handball, which I don't think was one. There was the pull on the shirt, which again I think's a foul, but it was fleeting. And all season those little pulls haven't been given, so the consistency was there. But in terms of the title race,
I'm seeing a trend though. I'm seeing a trend. Southampton away, they kind of had a shaky performance. Newcastle away, they had a shaky performance. Arsenal away, they had a shaky performance. I'm seeing a trend. Liverpool, when you're not having that home cooking, I'm not seeing the same level of confidence from your players and your defenders.
So what's happening this weekend then? They go away to Everton, the last derby egal at Goodison Park. They're buoyant. They just won 4-0. What do you think is going to happen this weekend to Liverpool Football Club?
The last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. Liverpool are currently flying. Everton just scored a bunch of goals versus Aston Villa, if I'm not mistaken. They are going to be up for it. And if you think you are leaving that ground with 3 points on their last ever game in that historic ground that was built in 1892 and is being finished this season, there is no chance. There is no chance.
Gal, I hate to spoil this build-up, mate, but you were mistaken.
No chance. I genuinely believe, from my heart of hearts, Everton are gonna have, guys. It's a derby. We don't view Everton
right now. I'll tell you right now. You heard
there is no chance in hell Liverpool are going to Everton and not going to have one of the toughest games of their season.
No, that I agree with, but it will be the ugliest, stinkiest 2-1 win you will ever see. We will leave that ground with 3 points. I'm confident. You're saying you're noticing a trend that we're struggling away from home. Bar last night, we're also winning away from home.
But there's no Konate. There's no McAllister, if I'm not mistaken. He picked up a yellow card.
Yeah, he's suspended.
Okay.
But what you're not realizing, this is the thing with football fans. I know you have to go off the last result. But yesterday, you had a right-hand side that hadn't played all season together with Konza and Gomez. Trent will come back into the fold. You had Luis Diaz that should have started false 9, in my opinion, which is having the season of his life false 9. He started off, and you had Nunez come back in. We made changes against Everton. We're going to go with our strongest team, the players that are available.
But you also You also have
an Everton. He came off the bench yesterday. He didn't
also have an Everton side who's going to be playing at home, who, if I'm not mistaken, beat you last year in this same ground. Coming off the back of a 4-0 victory. They're going to be so.
Oh, come on! It was Wolves again, and Craig Dawson.
You guys view Everton differently to how Liverpool view Everton. It is a derby for them. It is not a regular game. Stop thinking about it from your own perspective of how you view Everton. View it from a Liverpool rivalry, the final game at Goodison Park. I'm sorry. If anybody thinks that game is going to be nothing more than a dogfight for 90 minutes and Liverpool could potentially drop points and maybe even lose, I don't know what to say to you.
No, that's what you said. That's what you said, Igal. Igal, you said there's no way in hell they leave there with 3 points.
I agree. I think they're coming out at least with a draw. At least with a draw, Everton are getting a result. Everton are getting a result. Guys, the ground was built in 1892. They're leaving.
Does that by that logic,
there's something
you're going to lose to Fulham because you lost their last season? So does that mean because Fulham beat you?
It's not. It has nothing to do with that. We're not local rivals with Fulham. It's not Tottenham. Okay, it's not their final game at Craven Cottage. This is more than football for Everton.
Agal, you do know that in football, normally the fairy tale ending doesn't come. Who's to say we just crashed their party, the last derby ever?
I don't want
you to think I'm disregarding what you're saying. It's going to be very tough. I'm not going to say we're going to blitz them or start predicting a mad score. It'll be very tough. But I just still think on the day, we will handle the occasion better than them. And we'll get an ugly 2-1 win.
Can I throw a question out here? I want to throw it to Henry. I've not heard too much from him yet. Do you think Igal and Arsenal fans that believe what Gal's saying, do you think there's lots of truth to it, or do you believe there's a lot of hope behind the prediction? How do you personally see it?
It's a little bit of both. Obviously, Arsenal are going to pray Everton do get the result, but what Igal's saying, it is going to be a hard game for Liverpool. You know, it's the last Merseyside derby. Sean Dyche is probably going to try and stink it out, a 1-0 win. But I think Liverpool, with Trent being back in the side on that right-hand side, he's a lot more familiar than in that position than Quansah. If Diaz is back in the 11, like everyone called them Mo Salah FC, they beat Leverkusen without Salah scoring. They beat Leipzig without Salah scoring. They beat Real Madrid without Salah scoring. So they have turned up in a lot of big games without him scoring.
Did he assist in any of those games?
That's not my argument. I said without him scoring.
Henry, you're smart.
Henry.
I'm just here to ask questions. I'm Switzerland here.
I do think they'll beat Everton, though.
Henry, can I ask though?
It'll be close. 2-1.
I know what you're saying, and I think there's a bit of hope in there from Arsenal fans. But at the same time, when we were playing you at White Hart Lane in your final game at White Hart Lane, did you not think because of that reason you were gonna definitely win that game? Bearing in mind, if you beat us there the year before that, like this is what we're saying. Of course, Liverpool can win. No one's gonna sit here and say Liverpool can't go and win, but I think there is a good chance that Liverpool don't win that game after the confidence gained from it's Wolves. It doesn't matter. You won 4-0. You're going to be confident going into the derby. They won last season against them in the derby. There's going to be confidence there. They're going to want to win the last game. They're going to want to fight the last game. They're not going to want to let their fans down. So I think it's very plausible that they take points off of Liverpool. And I think that Liverpool have looked in the last 2 games a bit more vulnerable. So it is plausible. Listen, if you had to put a gun to my head and ask me what result I think would happen, I'd probably go for Liverpool to win because I do think that Liverpool because I do think Liverpool are just a better team, and right now they are flying. So if I had to bet my life on it, I'd probably go. A draw is probably what will end up happening. I don't think they'll lose though, because I think Liverpool will also get up for the derby as well.
I think if you offered somebody to bet a ridiculous amount of money of their house, they wouldn't want to bet this game because they can't guarantee you a Liverpool win. I don't think you can guarantee a Liverpool win in this game.
Do you not think, though, with Liverpool having Diaz back, Trent back,
no McAllister, no Konate? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Curtis Jones has done.
McAllister is a big blow.
I'll be real. They're missing McAllister. That's huge. They're missing Konate. That's huge. Trent. You're saying Trent's back. Trent was the reason yesterday that they were in the game because he got 2 assists in the game. So it's like yesterday without him, they were doing poor. But then the only time they done better was when he was back.
That's even more of an indictment. You guys are telling me Liverpool can't rotate. One second. Trent's back. He was in the game. You're telling me they can't rotate. They can't put Trent on the bench for a couple minutes.
They can rotate. It's just they're putting a guy. Normally it would be Conor Bradley, who's obviously out injured, but they're putting Quansah, who's a natural, more sided centre half at right back, and of course Gordon's going to be looking at that, licking his lips. Let's be honest. If any of our, if you're now putting a centre back at right back without a traditional right back there up and against Anthony Gordon, he's always going to fancy his chances. I don't care who you play for.
Do you know what, Henry? Do you know what Henry as well, right? McAllister is my favourite midfielder at the club. I know Gravenberch had the shiny toy this season. He's played the best.
He was poor last night, though. I thought he was poor last night.
Yeah, him and Gravenberch had his worst game last night. I hold my hands up. He had his worst game this season. But McAllister being out again, and I know he's one of our better midfielders, but it could be a blessing in disguise because out of him, listen carefully. I've got logic to this. Out of McAllister, Curtis Jones, Szoboszlai, and Gravenberch, he's probably the least athletic. At Goodison Park, they make it a dogfight. Szoboszlai, because it will probably be Szoboszlai, Jones, and Gravenberch that come in. Szoboszlai and Jones are our best pressers. They are most industrious. So them being fit for this game and starting in this game could benefit us more than a McAllister. I can see a world where McAllister might even...
I think that's hopium. I think that's hopium by you.
It's not hopium. It's not hopium.
Out of all the statements we've had, that is the least hopium thing I've heard today. All right, you lot are banking on Everton, who have like 14 points. They're 16th. And you
that don't mean anything when it comes to derbies. Don't mean anything.
It doesn't matter where they are.
Listen, I'm just saying this. By the way, so I'm going to ask you this: by your logic, by your choice, if McAllister was available, you'd start him on the bench.
No, I wouldn't. But I can see a world. Listen, I can see a world where McAllister gets introduced to the game. Because sometimes it's horses for courses. You might want look, historically they've had.
Ron, I better not see you be tweeting. I better not see you tweeting. Oh, we missed McAllister after you get a draw.
No, I won't. I know it. I'm not lying to you, guy. I don't make excuses. I call it. I think from
a title race point of view, though, I think
they're dropping.
Of course, Chelsea, City, and Arsenal fans want you to drop points. As a United fan, I always want Liverpool to drop points. But from a title race perspective, you guys dropping points again this weekend will make everything a little bit more exciting if it goes to 5 points or if it goes to 4 points and everything else. So I do hope, this is not even as a United fan saying it, just as a football fan, I really hope you lose and I hope you get battered as well and the confidence gets hurt.
Terry, you know what time they play? Check what time they play.
12:30.
Yeah, that's our good old time that we love to play at. I would say quickly to back up my point even more. When we played Chelsea against a midfield of Lavia and Caicedo, probably the most industrious pair that you'll get in the league, McAllister didn't start that game. And we had to go man for man. We had to go energy for energy. So there is a world where even if McAllister was fit, he may not have started this game. Sometimes that's the go.
Curtis Jones played really well that game.
What, in the Chelsea game?
Yeah. Didn't he win
man of the match? Yeah, he's man of the match. So... yeah, but I understand what I think Agal and Giuseppe are doing. I get it's going to be tough last game, but I think it's more hope. We're in the title race with you. I get that you're going to want to throw things out there.
I don't think it's hope.
I gave you logical reasons.
No, you did. And form goes out the window.
I get the fact it's the last Goodison derby, and it's obviously Everton versus Liverpool. But you are not going to sit here and tell me. Agal said, and I quote, "There is no way that Liverpool leave Goodison Park with 3 points."
No way. It's crazy.
I never said that.
No. Me, though. No, do you guys understand?
Giuseppe is leaving Agal out to dry. I'm off.
I don't need anyone to co-sign what I'm saying. But all I'm simply saying is
we know. We're just joking, mate.
I wish we had an Everton representative to come on because I think they all know this game is their cup final almost. It's one of the most important games of the season. Their last derby.
And how many trophies have they won in the last 20 years ago?
It's their last derby at their ground. And also,
they ain't a team that do well in cup finals if get there.
Do you know why you're so shameless? And the whole panel know this, and everyone in the chat know this. Because we beat Everton, you would say, well, Liverpool are expected to beat Everton.
No. That's not true. That's not true.
You would.
That's not true. In the last 5 derbies away at Goodison Park, you have drawn 3 of them. What are you talking about?
Our record's not the best there. I agree. It's not.
And
the best.
Neither is Everton.
You only have 1 win in your last 5 at Goodison Park. So stop acting like you go there and you batter them every week.
No, again, I've not said we're going to batter them. I've literally said we're going to win arguably there. But the fact you're saying there's no way.
Yeah. Again, so that's where you're saying there's zero chance. Zero chance
because I'm counteracting the people saying, it's Liverpool. They're winning they're in the title race. They're the best team. Everton are this terrible team. You have to view it from the perspective of this is a derby. Look at the history. Look at what happened last year, and just look at the situation right now. They just came off
the history of this derby. I've got it up in front of me. The second likeliest outcome is Liverpool win. So to say there's zero chance is where you're just doing too much here.
No, because I personally think the emotion. I personally think the emotion of it being their last game at the stadium is going to have the fans.
I hear that.
This makes it 50-50 though. That's what makes it 50-50.
More than football.
This is their last game.
This is their last game.
That doesn't make it 100% zero. It makes it 50-50 because let's be honest, in terms of quality of team and player individually, Liverpool should every game wipe the floor with Everton. Everton have been shocking this season. That 4-0 the other night it just papers over a lot of cracks. But what you're saying is right, is that it is their last game. I speak to loads of Everton fans the last week. They've been buzzing for this game at the weekend. They are bang up for it. The last one at Goodison. Everything you're saying is right, but all that does is make it 50-50. It doesn't make it 75-25.
That is a better chance than what everyone would have said going into this weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
I understand that. Just some breaking news, by the way, that if and when this comes into the Premier League, I think it guarantees Arsenal multiple Premier League titles. Brand new rules coming into the game. It says here that referees will award a corner to the opposition if a goalkeeper holds onto the ball for too long under a new system being introduced by lawmakers. I read it. It's almost. I've always said if a goalie's time wasted, it should be a penalty, but they've kind of gone for a corner here. If that happens all the time, Arsenal there, you're winning back-to-backs for the first time ever. Back-to-back.
It's an indirect free kick at the moment. That's what it should be. If you hold it on for more than 6 seconds, you should be awarded an indirect free kick.
And no fucker gets that, do they? Do you know what I mean?
Never.
Well, they did back in 2004, 2005 when they first brought it in.
The funny thing
I know. They're crazy. That would be a madness. Can you imagine? It's one of the videos I heard last night from Arsenal fans. It was mad. There was a guy was recording, and every time they got a corner, he was shouting, we've got another pen, we've got another penalty. It's like, you guys are taking a piss with that.
Dan
shit.
Potts was saying he was at the game, and every time they got a pen, they were like, "Oh,
Yeah,
they just thought they were going to score every time."
Yeah. Just before we move on a little bit from this and get onto some of the other teams, Pete, obviously your team played Liverpool last night. How do you feel about the result? There's obviously some contentious decisions in the game as well.
Yeah, come on. Look, no Newcastle fan really were confident that we were going to get anything out of the game, if we're being honest. So to see us perform the way we did, I mean, we were and like Romz, you might think differently. I thought we were the better team, certainly in the first half. You guys came back into it, and then it sort of ebbed and flowed in the second half. There was 5 or 10 minutes where Liverpool had the better, Newcastle had the better, and it kind of ebbed and flowed. And I'll be honest, on the balance of play, I genuinely feel we did enough to win. Liverpool might feel the same, but I feel, with the Gordon one-on-one, he's got to put that away. He's got to take that around the keeper and put that in. You've got the penalty decision. I mean, the Gordon Van Dijk one, I think, is maybe a little bit more difficult, but the Isak penalty is a clear penalty. How the referees got that wrong, I've got no idea. And those things change games. You know what I mean? We get that penalty or Gordon scores and we go 2-0 up in the first half, it changes things. So although I'm really pleased to see us actually have a performance, I'm glad to see us put a real performance in. I can't help but feel annoyed that we didn't get more.
Yeah, I did that last minute, the referee blowing up as well. All I remember, I didn't mention this earlier, but what I was thinking about was, I think it's been nearly 30 years that Newcastle have been looking for redemption for that Stan Collymore goal to make it 4-3. I remember watching that game live as a kid. It's iconic to this day. If you're a youngster and you haven't watched, go watch the extended. Don't watch the highlights and just the goals. Watch the extended highlights of that game. It was a magnificent match. And I just thought, as you were breaking away 2v1 at the end, this was an opportunity for some long-awaited revenge, because you rarely beat Liverpool. And I thought, imagine you do it last kick of the game to win 4-3, almost identically to what Stan Collymore did, and the referee blew up, and it's like, mate, maybe you just stopped history from happening right there.
Pete, I was saying earlier, I would have been fuming. Had the shoe been on another foot and Diaz and Salah were running in, I would have been fuming. But one thing I wanted to say to you, I was very impressed with, and I think you would agree as a Newcastle fan, the balance with Tonali and Guimaraes hasn't always worked. They were amazing yesterday. They were amazing.
There's one reason for that, Romz, is that, and we've been good, like loads of fans, certainly on our channel, will be calling for it for ages, is that the difference has been, is that Bruno's always played in the 6 and Tonali in the 8, but they've switched it. We've always said Tonali's a better 6. His recovery runs, his positional understanding from a defensive point of view is so much better. And since he's come in, he was brilliant at Palace, even though we were absolutely shocking as a team on Saturday. He was brilliant at Palace. He's come in again, and he's been absolutely excellent against Liverpool. And what it does, it allows Bruno to find those little thready passes, like he did for Isak's goal, higher up the pitch. He can play 10 yards further up the pitch that can impact the team. It's been a massive change. And look, for me, I've been annoyed that Tonali's not been in the team. He's been on the bench. He's been coming in and out. I'm sorry. If you cannot start a £55 million Italian international ahead of Sean Longstaff, then something's not right. Something ain't right there. And he now he's in the team and he's playing well. He has to stay there. For me, he has to play every single week for Newcastle United, bar none, because he's a superb athlete, but he's technician. Like, just watch, if you go back and watch his highlights, even from the Palace game, pretty much everything he does is one touch. Like, when you get a player that can just play that easily and that composed, everything's one touch. It's just, he just makes the game look so easy at times. Brilliant.
No, I definitely agree. We have a few super chats here that say Everton are winning 2-1 is what AFC Singh has got to say here.
The other
Ray
way.
Ray says they are Mo Salah on attack because even last game without Salah they dropped those points because not just goals involvement. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. They are Mo Salah on attack because even last game without Salah they dropped those points. Okay, because not just goals involvement.
He's basically saying without Salah against City.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like Salah's involved in goals, and if he's not involved directly in the goal, he's involved in the build-up.
In the build-up, right? Okay, I get it now. Crazy stat: of the 14 teams Liverpool have faced this year in the league, only one faced them on the back of a win. Brentford in the second week.
Interesting.
Ooh, okay. I mean, what does that represent? What are we saying?
I think they're trying to say they've not had teams playing in form or something.
Yeah, or there's an upset on the cards. You know,
I hope so. I do hope so. Keeping it within the title race, Chelsea last night, Dan, stuck 5 goals past Southampton, second in the league table, and a lot of Chelsea fans saying, "Where's our flowers? We're in the title race." First of all, what did you make of the performance? And the title race is surely on.
Yeah, no, I don't know about the title race. Come on, I'm going to have the same reaction to Cole Palmer on that one, but I just think it is a little bit too early. Let's have this conversation. If we're still in the same place, February 1st, let's see what everyone else has done in January, see what City do, see what Chelsea do, see where Chelsea are at as well. I just think that game yesterday was, almost inevitable that Chelsea would win it. The way Southampton play is just it's almost getting embarrassing for them right now. And I think we were always going to win that game. I just feel like that game could have been 8-3. Southampton had moments to score more than they did, and so did Chelsea. And it just worries me a little bit that if a team looked to play against Chelsea like that, we could concede more goals than we should be. But then at the same time, that's a rotated squad. That's nowhere near our best 11. And we've dealt with it. We've scored that many goals. And it gives Maresca a lot more trust in all of his players to be able to step up and deliver. And these are players that have been questioned for only performing in the Conference League, and they weren't good enough in the League Cup against Newcastle, but then they've been given a game against Southampton and they've rectified it. So you can't really ask for more. And it's players that have been questioned. You look at Sancho, everyone was doubting him. He's stepping up. Players like João Phoenix, is he good enough? He's stepping up. So it's Enzo Fernandez is another one who just can't stop doing good things at the moment. And they've all been questioned, and they're the perfect type of fixtures to put it right.
Also, as well, you played without Jackson as well, didn't you? You had, I know we said earlier, Nkunku come in, Felix come in. I think in terms of the depth,
seven changes.
Yeah, seven
changes.
In terms of the depth you've got, like at the moment, you've probably got the best depth in the top 4. And I think that's quite a reasonable take. And look,
do you know, the only other team I think that can make changes like this and get away with it is Brighton. I think Brighton are the only other team that seem to rotate their squad, and you never know who they're going to pick. And 9 times out of 10, they actually get away with it. And that's why they are where they are in the league. And I think Chelsea have obviously just got
there's a level of ability there. There's a level of ability with Brighton.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
but Chelsea got better
pound
squad.
for pound. But isn't a big part of Chelsea's rebuild that's been happening for the last 2.5 years kind of based a bit on what Brighton have done?
We've nicked all their stars. So of course it's going to be a similar model.
I'm not surprised that that's the case.
No.
You've basically done Brighton if Brighton had money.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we've done, Terry. We're trying to be, instead of allowing Brighton to make money off of us by keep selling us Cucureas and Casados, we've just gone a step ahead and tried to recruit the player before Brighton do.
Dan,
that's why we're buying the players like Vega and opportunistic signings of players that have potentially had potential in previous years and not quite lived up to it, and we're taking a chance on them again, like Sancho, like Felix.
Dan, can I ask you though? You've just said that you and I somewhat agree with you with the depth thing of the best depth. So you've got the best depth. You're right near the top of the table. So for what reason are you saying that you're not in the title race? Is it just because you don't want to say you're in the title race and then fall off and have to?
No, it's not, mate. If I turn around and say we're in a title race and we fall off, we fall off. You can't deny facts. I think if you look at the points and where we are, it might suggest that we're in a title race. I don't disagree with that. But for me, I look at Chelsea's team and I think defensively, are we good enough? It's probably our weakest area. I think a defender of a certain level of quality and a certain level of experience, similar to what Thiago Silva added to this squad, is something that I think is still needed. And I just wonder how many points Sanchez is capable of giving away rather than gaining us this season, because it's every game there seems to be a mistake with him right now when it comes to his footwork. I actually think as a keeper, and if it was down to just shot stopping, he's actually not too bad, but he just lacks a little bit of concentration for me.
If you brought in a centre, I know we said this earlier on my channel talking about the game for Sunday, but if you do bring in a Bastoni type player or someone of that, like you're laughing, but Chelsea could quite easily go out and spend money.
No, they could get a player like him, just not Bastoni. I was laughing. Bastoni ain't leaving Inter, but yeah, I get you.
Well,
Go for Van de Ven or Romero.
It depends. It depends how much charm Maresca's got when he picks up the phone and starts sweet talking him in Italian as well. Like they might just get on.
Maybe.
So, do you know what? Bastoni would be like the dream, I think, because of who our manager is and the age that he's at. He's the perfect profile for the squad. But I think someone who comes, look, there's links with Mark Gehi, there's links with a couple of players that are out there. And I don't know if that's the right type of player, but I think an addition to Chelsea's defence is definitely needed in January. And I don't think we'll recruit a goalkeeper because I just think we've spent too much. But something needs to happen there, whether it's a slight change in what Sanchez is doing, whether it's him working every day on the training pitch to just improve that situation where he's likely to give the ball away. They're the two issues for me that I would say Chelsea need to work on. And the other massive thing is that in the title race, winning the games against the teams that you're in the race with can be pivotal. And Chelsea haven't done that yet this season. We've played Liverpool, we've lost. We've played Arsenal, we drew. We've played Newcastle, obviously, is a big win for us this season. Villa's been a big win, but they're not quite on the level of beating a City, beating a Liverpool, beating an Arsenal. And until I see Chelsea get a scalp against one of the bigger teams, I don't think my confidence will be fully there.
The Spurs
I just think people are trying to force it, you know? Like, we're just not in this race. I don't get it. Why are people trying to put us in this race?
David, I think it's because of the points, isn't it? If you look at the table, Chelsea is second. So if it's a two-horse race, we're in it.
The same people at the start of the year said, where's João Felix going to get changed? It doesn't make sense to me.
They also said we'd be Maresca out by December.
Maresca was the favourite to get sacked before the season. Where are my players going to get changed? My club's a whole mess. No one knows what they're doing. But suddenly, because we've started playing a bit well, everyone's like, well, they've got to be in the title race.
No, that's David, you've proven people wrong.
No, Giuseppe. No.
David, you remember £1 billion wasted as well? That one.
£1 billion bottle job.
Wait, no, hang on. I've got to say something on the billion, though, Romz, because if any other team was given £1 billion, I still don't think that's the right way to spend it. If you get £1 billion and your team sit in 12th, 6th, and now we're talking about potentially being in the title race or we're definitely getting top 4, that's still not good enough. If you spend £1 billion, you shouldn't be talking about that. You should be talking about winning the league, guaranteed nailed on, and winning Champions League.
That's not, £1 billion. Again, that's not what we spend £1 billion on.
The billion is a huge amount of money.
The billion was not, if you look at what we signed with the billion, you cannot tell me those signings have meant we're going to win the league next year. That's not what the billion was for. It's just not. Like, I don't know why people are trying to do this.
David, obviously you can spend the billion however you want, but I don't think Chelsea have spent the billion in the best way. I just don't think we have.
No, I'd agree with that. They've done it in a completely different way to what the norm is.
Well, Chelsea haven't spent the £1 billion on fish to feed everybody. They've spent £1 billion teaching everybody how to fish.
So no, Chelsea have gone
very well, but I knew what I meant.
Chelsea have gone.
It's future-proofing. They're future-proofed it. They're trying to future-proof it.
Yeah, but they've gone fishing with like some pretty dodgy rods and just hope that they pull out the biggest fish a couple of times. And do you know what they have? They've got luck. They have got lucky in a way. I think there's a sense of the fact that we've been able to buy Cole Palmer and he's exceeded expectations. But at the same time, we've spent 70 million on Mudryk and it's gone horribly wrong.
No, so I think you have misspent money. What I meant by my analogy is this. I understand your point. You see $1 billion spent and people go, you should be challenging. But that was never the approach. Half of that $1 billion that's been spent is on players that are probably never going to play for you. You're loaning out and you're going to sell at a profit. So it's going to generate for you in 2 to 3 years' time a huge amount of money. you've also gone for an approach. And the only thing I feel you really got wrong, the first summer, the Koulibaly's, the Sterling's wrong. I think you got the managerial appointments wrong up until this point. The head coach appointments wrong up until this point. But what you've done is you've sailed in the same direction. And you may have brought some, we keep the ship analogy going, the fishing analogy going. You might have a few shipmates that were wrong. And you've kicked them up. You've made them walk the plank and jump off. But the ship's carried on going in the same direction. And I had this argument with a Man United fan earlier today, where I said, talking about Man United situation and saying that no one currently in the title race, and by the way, I think all four of you are in the title race. That's my definition of one anyway. None of them became title contenders just by changing their head coach. And somebody responded, well, Chelsea did. No, they didn't. Chelsea, Clear Lake, Bowley and co. have been building this squad and putting this, as you already put it, this kind of Brighton with money process together for 2.5 years. You've made mistakes along the way. You've had to sell some of the players. You've had to recruit some more board members. You've gone for a number of head coaches, but the direction has remained true the whole time. That's why you're 2.5 years into this kind of project, rebuild, whatever buzzword we want to use as an example. And I think that the only way you can say the £1 billion spent is wrong is in another 2 to 3 years if you're still not winning anything. Let's say next season you win the league, then you retain it. You win the Champions League, then you win the Premier League again. Say you have like a 4 or 5 year period from now onwards that's more successful than any other 4 or 5 year period in your history. I'm throwing out a hypothetical. Then it was well invested because it's produced a world-class, brilliant team, by the way, that's young, that has legs in it as an example. If you don't win a Prem, don't win a Champions League, have one good season this year and then fall off again, then I think it's a complete and utter waste of money, in the future. I just feel as though there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to spend your money. And I think that Chelsea have done it in just a different way to what we're used to seeing, if that makes sense. And the jury's still out for me as to whether or not it's going to work. But I've got a horrible feeling as a rival that it might. And I don't know, maybe you could have spent the money differently 2 years ago. Maybe if you'd have just gone out and spent £150 million on, I don't know, 8 or 9 players, maybe you'd have won the league anyway, right? Maybe you would have done. But then at the end of those players' contracts, how much are you selling them for? How are you recouping the money? How's the you've kind of put something in. You look at what City are doing. City have raised, what, £400 or £500 million in the last few years through selling players. That's a huge part of their income while they've caught Real Madrid. And that's why they can remain at the top. So I just think there's multiple elements going on here at Chelsea that are not just about buying. You can't do what Roman did. There's too many other clubs with money. You can't just go out and say we're going to spend the most on the best available players. I don't think that works for a club like Chelsea, whose income is high, but not Real Madrid level, not Man City's level, not even Man United's level. You can't spend like that in the modern day world. You've got to find a way of buying quality, developing a team for longevity, and selling players so you make more money. And I think you're starting to really get it right. If I'm being honest, I think you're starting to get it right.
I hear what you're saying, but say you took Chelsea on the back of a season where just the year before prior, less than 12 months when everything started, we just won the Champions League, and you said, here's £1 billion, take this team to the next level. You would have gone, right, we'll scrap every single player that's won you the Champions League, everything that has made that club what it is and its DNA. We'll get rid of all of it and we'll put £1 billion in, and we'll get as many fish as we can on this boat. And then the boat starts sinking, and then they're like, right, hang on, we better offload some of these fish quickly. Let's try and get some good money for it.
You made mistakes. And look, Man City have made mistakes, but look what they're doing now. FSG have made mistakes from when they took over, but they created a brilliant team. Man United and now Pomp made mistakes at board level, decision-making level. Fergie bought the wrong players. These things happen. The biggest mistake you made, in my opinion, is I think you got out too many of the old guard in terms of the Petr Cechs of this world and Thomas Tuchel too soon. Your approach in terms of how you've invested in the squad, I think the only real mistake you made was allowing Todd Bowley to sign that first crop of players because he had no idea what he was doing.
No, it's true.
Again, the direction hasn't changed. So for me, if you look at a lot of that money you spent, how much of that was in that first summer on the Koulibalys and the Sterlings and the salary you gave to the Aubameyang?
That's like 400 million.
Yeah, exactly. So again, you take
director that's never watched football.
If you take that away, and I'm not saying you should take it away, but they've rectified that mistake. And I think that, and by the way, in that summer, you did try and sign established players because the Koulibalys and the Sterlings and the Aubameyangs and co, the idea was to try and add that quality, and it didn't work. So no, I do get you. I just sort of feel, Jesus Christ, Don.
As a Chelsea fan,
Don.
I'm just for now.
All right, mate. Jesus.
As Chelsea fan right now, I'm just
Pause, Don. Pause.
I'm just enjoying the football. I'm a chill guy. I'm a chill guy. It's a good time.
Can I say something related to what Don was just saying about Poch? I feel like some Chelsea fan, look, I know he was, let's say, dreadful last season, but he kind of put the foundation into place for Maresca to thrive. Now, I feel like you lot are too disrespectful towards it.
Keep it real. Keep it real. I was one of these people saying Chelsea were crazy to get rid of Poch. Maresca is an upgrade, and you can see based on how he approaches game to game.
No, Gal, I'm not saying they're wrong for getting rid of him, but I'm saying the way they act like some of this work isn't from Poch as well. Like he put these foundations into place, in my opinion.
Rob, elaborate on it then. What are the foundations? Because I think Maresca's sort of ripped up a lot of the foundations that Poch even put into. I hear what you're saying, by the way. Poch eventually, after like 30 games, got us to somewhere that looked reasonable. But Maresca has obviously just kind of gone to a level above that in a way shorter amount of time. Like, what are the foundations you think you see? Because I actually think it's probably more the sporting directors have actually put in foundations, and then Poch got it wrong with the foundations, and they've gone, right, back to basics, go again with another guy who understands what we're trying to do.
I think in terms of, when I say foundation, in terms of like better in place, because I think system wasn't there, and you saw Palmer was carrying your team. And I've said the reason why Palmer's GA is reduced because there's more regimented system, the goals are being shared. And not, I always said his GA will drop the season, not because he's a bad player, but it'll be shared around. Other players will take more responsibility. But I think some of the players individually were starting to get better the back end of last season. And you saw that because I think the 2024 table that Don loves to speak about, I think you broke into that top 4 and you were strengthening towards the end of the season. There could be context. A lot of teams have reached their objectives, so they might have took their foot off the gas. But I think Poch needs to have credit for some players individually. Yes, Maresca's taken them to a whole nother level. I get that. But that's what I mean by some of the foundations were put into place by Poch.
Cucurella is an example of that.
Yeah, I think
Poch got Cucurella played, and then obviously he had a brilliant Euros, and now you're seeing what you actually wanted to see when you signed him from Brighton. And in getting exactly what you needed from there. So I do agree to a point.
Yeah, I think Poch did start getting things right, but I think that's to do with the club. And I'd love to, again, I would be asking these questions of Maresca and Todd Bowley if I got to interview them. Like, how much change has come in? Slot's a great example. Slot said in an interview about 5 weeks ago now that I haven't introduced a new style of play. There's some new direction and a few new instructions and a new voice, but it's fundamentally the same style of play. There's just a few adaptations to it, and I would love to know if there is them. Again, there might be different coaching methods and different standards in training, different communication skills. That isn't again, I don't consider that a rebuild. You can have a squad rebuild when your players are old. There's club rebuilds where the whole thing, like Chelsea did 2.5 years ago, is gutted. But I just don't believe anymore in the modern day game changing a head coach is a rebuild. I don't think Chelsea have come in and said we need a completely different manager who sees football in a different way. I think they needed a head coach stroke manager who was a better communicator with the players, was maybe a little bit more decisive, a little bit stricter, had better training methods, and also maybe saw a little bit more eye to eye with them. However, the direction they want to go in, I think it's probably remained pretty much the same. But I want to throw this out to the panel. And Romz, you're top of the league. Do you think Chelsea are in this title race? Or do you feel that, are you someone that feels it's, and when I say in the title race, because we could debate what a title race looks like. I think a title race is all season because you've got to have a beginning, middle, and end. But do you think they're a team that are going to stay up near the top until the end of the season? Or do you think Chelsea will fall off?
For me, it depends what they do in January. Because look, I'm one of the rival fans that gave Chelsea their respect before it was popular. I had them top 4 last season. I had them top 4 this season. But as long as they have Sanchez between the sticks, I don't have faith in them sustaining this. Yes, they've got a very good team, and he's actually played well recently because you can say he loses them points, but he's also gained them points. So I'm going to give him his credit there. But I just still think even with Jorgensen and Sanchez, he will lose them games and he will draw them games. It's been evident this season. So I think Chelsea will actually stay with the pack till about March. And I think the last 10 games, the actual run-in, I think they'll slowly get phased out. They'll get harder games. They won't win games. So for me, they're going to be here for the next couple months, but they won't be there till the end, in my opinion.
Chelsea are going to be here for the next couple of years. This team is not building for this season. They're building for the future. Man City looks like they're falling off. Manchester United is rebuilding, if I'm not mistaken. Arsenal are currently in a situation where we need to win now, or else you could see the likes of Chelsea overtaking us quite quickly. I honestly believe Todd Bowley might not have known what the hell he's doing when he first walked into the building, but his MLS approach of having a youth team of players that can come through and just keep bringing them in until you have the right players could potentially have them have a team full of stars.
Well, that's what you do, Gal, isn't it? If you don't know what you're doing in the business, but you believe you can make money, you bring in the people that do know what they're doing. And he's ultimately looked at a model in Brighton and thought that's one I'd like to replicate, but do it at a better level.
Yeah, so for somebody who's been laughing at Chelsea for the last couple of years, I see the vision. I see where they're headed. And honestly, it is very worrying that if you don't capitalize now, they could be the next team up.
I was going to ask you, I see a few big Chelsea accounts on social sort of posting the league table and saying, this is sort of.
I see that.
This is like 2 years after a rebuild, and we're higher than Arsenal, who are 5 years in. Are you concerned that they've caught you up already in the league, or do you feel that it won't?
There's one major flaw. Chelsea are really good against the teams lower half of the table, but they've yet to still show that they can beat the top 6 sides and have the solid performances against those teams. That is probably like the final piece of the puzzle when they start playing well against everyone in the league. But against the top half of the table, I feel like they still struggle. Against the bottom half of the table, they show that they're capable of battering those teams.
Gal, do you know what else is massive for me, where I think there's a huge difference between the way Chelsea have gone about their business and the way Arsenal have? And albeit I think Chelsea have gone around it in around the houses way, actually. But Chelsea aren't, look, as much as we've got fantastic players and we've got players that are obviously a level above the majority of our squad in players like Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson's now scoring that many goals. If those players get injured, I still think Chelsea will be capable of getting results. Where I think if Arteta and the squad that Edu have built, if you lose, like when you lost Saliba very early on when he went for your first title race, and then this season, obviously, you've lost Odegaard, and if you were to lose Saka, I don't think you've got replacements in your squad that are capable of stepping up to the level you need to keep contending for a title. Whereas I feel like, well, Giuseppe, I can see you pulling that face, mate. You don't. You've been awful since Odegaard's been injured, and your form's absolutely doubled since he returned. And when Saliba, hang on, and when Saliba got injured, you bought. When Saliba got injured, you bought in Rob. You bought in Rob Holding. Hang on, Rob Holding. Who
do you know what, Dan? One second. One minute.
One thing. Because earlier you said we're Mo Salah FC, but when Odegaard got injured, does that mean you're Odegaard FC? Because you didn't win.
Go on, Romz. One second. Stop. Odegaard wasn't there. Odegaard wasn't there for Tottenham. We won. Wasn't there for Aston Villa. We won. Eventually, it gets to a point where if you have a player out for a long-term period, you're going to eventually have to continue to transform your play. But I agree with Dan. The quality of injury matters, even for Chelsea. If you were to lose Cole Palmer for an extended period, it's going to hurt you. I know you're playing well.
But the Gal, this is what I'm saying. We then have the likes of Nkunku or João Felix to step in.
Let's keep it 100.
Who the manager can trust to actually deliver in the Premier League now. Whereas you've got 17-year-old Wanyeri and no one else, and your manager can trust to start it.
Don't do that. That's disingenuous.
That's factually true.
That's disingenuous. We all know here. You take out Mo Salah, you take out Cole Palmer, you take out Bukayo Saka.
Let's do this, shall we? Because for the last couple of weeks,
it's going to be diminished.
Hang on, just let me.
No, but you spoke. Let me respond to what I'm saying, and then understand my point.
You started making a new point, but go on.
Okay, my single point is it's about the quality of the injury, not the quantity. If we have 5 injuries across the defense, obviously you're going to be screwed. But if you have 1 injury to one of those defenders, I think we can manage. Also, in the midfield, if we have an injury to Thomas Partey, Rice, we have adequate backup.
Okay, so Gabriel was injured yesterday. Yeah, you have Kivior and Zinchenko.
And
I don't know if you saw,
he was
but
amazing.
Zinchenko was not amazing yesterday.
No. Kivior was. My point.
Okay,
Once
this is
again,
what I'm saying.
understand my point.
That's as
Understand
far as
my
your depth
point.
goes, and that's your second best centre back.
Your point is disingenuous because
What happens if you lose Odegaard again?
What happens if
you
they
out
lose
of the mix?
What happens?
One second.
No.
You guys are so disingenuous because my point was if you lose your best player, doesn't matter what team you are going to diminish. That is a fact. Even Chelsea, who you think has the best squad depth, if Cole Palmer doesn't play for you guys for the rest of the season, you are going to extremely miss him. And don't
let me
act
tell
like
I'm not saying
you
you won't miss him.
So stop this stuff about what if you miss Odegaard? What if you miss this? Because it applies to everybody.
You're getting lost here, Agal, because that's not
No,
what I'm saying. I'm saying that.
everybody.
No, wait, Agal, just listen for a second, and you might be a little bit clearer in thought. Because what I'm saying is that if Chelsea lose someone like Cole Palmer, we have players that are capable of producing not exactly the same numbers, because that wouldn't be the best way to build a squad here. We wouldn't be building a competitive squad. We'd actually get people unhappy that they weren't playing. That's what would happen when you have too many players of too good a level. But we've got players that are hungry enough to put up a challenge and put in results and score and be efficient if they come in, like Nkunku, like João Felix. If you lose Odegaard, you don't have that next bracket of player. You've got a young player who's thriving, who's trying to come through in Nwaneri. You had it in Smith Rowe, you sold him, okay? And now you don't have that type of player.
Hello, everybody. Are you subscribed?
They subscribed. No, they're on the show. They're on the show.
That's a bit weird.
What's weird? What's weird about it? Make sure you say something nice. What do you want to say?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
All right. Go on.
I want to say something.
What do you want to say? Don't swear. What do you want to say, Jackie?
I love kids, man.
What do you want to say? Just say Man United are the best.
No.
Oh. What team do you support in this house?
Manchester United.
Clever. Well done.
We watch YouTube.
You do. I know.
I always see your videos.
You see my videos?
But I only see one. We do. And you swear.
I do sometimes swear, don't I?
Yeah.
All right. Well, look. You guys go outside.
Swear.
Can you take Muttley as well? Because the dog's now in
Muttley,
the door.
come on, Muttley.
Come on, kids.
Muttley,
And the dog.
come
There you go. There we go. Watch out for the wires and the lights. Take the dog with you as well, please. Anyway, sorry, back to you guys. I just got
Gary, that's evil, man. Those poor kids with Man United fans, they're going to suffer.
Dan, so because you originally said about me making that face and that, the fact of the matter is, we've had, and I agree, and it ain't a flex that we're on the same points as you, but I agree, so far, apart from the last 3 games, we've been pretty bad this season. And we've been missing in players, and we're on them same points, and we are only 7 points off Liverpool, who have been amazing this season, right? So this is when I say your thing's a little bit disingenuous, because I'm telling you now, if at the same time we lost Odegaard, you had lost Caicedo, yeah, that is your best midfielder, and I'd argue that Odegaard's our best midfielder. Yeah, if we'd lost them both at the same time for the same period of time, you would not be on the same points as us right now. And I know we're ahead of you in the thing. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying you'll end up catching up. You're talking right now as well. I think we'll address these at the end of the season. Some of this depth in our team. You've got more depth than us, okay? Some of these players that you're naming, are they good enough to win you leagues? I don't think so. I don't think having like João Felix instead of Palmer for a long period of the season makes you be able to win the title, the same as having Cole Palmer. So I do think that it's the same thing. Yes, you've got a bit more depth than us. I agree. Of course, you've spent all that money. You've got all them players. But I do think that none of these players that you've signed, once like what we get told about our players, none of them really have proven that they can go and win a Premier League title.
Well, your players haven't either, have they?
No, I agree. But once again, I'm saying that. But once again, I agree.
We're like we're in 2 years into this redevelopment, and where we've got rid of a lot of players. And what I'm saying is that if a player like Cole Palmer's missing, or a player like Cole Palmer's been playing, but he actually hasn't been at the level everyone sort of thought he was. And people were saying it's about time Cole Palmer started scoring. We were still drawing against you. We were still getting results that were capable of keeping Chelsea in second place, even when Cole Palmer wasn't performing. If last season Cole Palmer had gone through a quiet spell and wasn't performing, Chelsea may have been in a relegation battle at one point of the season because we were 12th, right? So that's where it shows that this summer we've recruited João Felix to make sure that we've got that gap. If Cole Palmer isn't performing, we have another level before we then have to promote a youth academy player.
I hear that. My rebuttal to it is literally is what I just said about the fact is what shows me that we're further ahead than you is that we are still in that title race, because I think you're also in the title race. That's my answer to Terry's question, by the way. Yes, you are in the title race right now. With having a poor season so far with injuries, we've been poor in that, and we're still in the title race. Whereas if you'd got the injuries and were playing as poor as we were, I believe that you'd be 10.
But we've had injuries as well.
But it's not like we haven't had injuries. Yeah, hang on.
The Premier League.
Reece James is one of Chelsea's best players.
My point
is, we literally have our players make so many fundamental errors on the field. Right, we have idiots playing in goal and sometimes at centre back, like legit idiots. And you guys are sat here acting like, woe is me, Chelsea have had this absolutely amazing season where everything's gone well for them, and woe is us, everything's gone really bad for us. That's not how.
By the way, I've not said that. You're saying, hold on. Have you not sat and said you're having a good season? Bottom line, we should not be on the same points at this stage. If I said at the start of this season, 14 games into the season, Chelsea and Arsenal would be on the same point, and Chelsea will have a higher. We agree. We agree. We're telling you. Crazy. Hold on. We're agreeing. I'm saying we've had a bad season so far, apart from the last 3 games since the international break. We've had a bad season. By the way, we have got a lot of tougher games, away games out of the way. As well.
Why have you had a bad season though?
Because I know Romz made a joke.
They should be where we are. That's why they've had
Romz. I know they should be. But why? Why have you had a bad season? What's the reason? Because you haven't built. It's the exact point I made. No. You haven't built your squad well over the last 5 years.
Hold on.
But you could make that case. No. Whatever you say,
I agree with what Romz said. Sorry, Gal. Romz made a joke, and it's the whole Salah FC, Odegaard FC sort of thing. But I actually somewhat agree, and I'll back that thing of not Odegaard FC, but I think teams, when you get this level, a certain level of player, especially a captain as well at the club, I agree. I think that they are sometimes fundamental in how you play.
Okay, so hear me out on this.
I don't think we could get a player. I don't think there's a player there that we can sign right now that would be willing to sit on the bench that could do what Odegaard does for us. All round.
So Giuseppe, hear me out on this then. Hear me out on this. So this is where I'm saying I don't think your squad building has been good enough, because Chelsea's best player before we signed Cole Palmer was nailed on Reece James. Reece James was made Chelsea's captain, put on our highest salary, right? In this new generation, he's getting paid more than anyone else at the club. He has barely touched the pitch since he's been a captain. Barely been able to put in the performances that we know he's capable of doing. And where are Chelsea in the league? Second, coping absolutely fine without their star player that we signed, that we put on a huge contract, and we're fine. Gusto's doing a good enough job because we bought the next level down as well.
I hear you.
Where are you without your captain?
Sorry, guys. Can I jump in for a second?
That's a point.
Can I throw a question in here though regarding this season? Because a lot of I want to throw this out to the panel. Maybe go to Pete with this first. Going to hear from him in a minute before we speak about the Chelsea game, the Chelsea Spurs game. But a lot of Arsenal fans online have complained this season, not about the squad not being good enough per se, but Arteta's approach being too negative, and that actually, if they would have started with Nwaneri in the attacking midfield role, if they'd have let the handbrake off in that kind of 6-week period where Odegaard was out, they could have and would have won more games. So is it just about squad building for Arsenal, or could it have been the wrong approach from the manager for a few-week period that cost them as well?
I think it's definitely has to do with the manager's approach, Pete. And also
I definitely said Pete. I definitely said Pete.
Oh, my bad.
You definitely did. It's all good, Igal. It's all good. I know. And look, Igal, I know when we're getting on this Arsenal conversation, you can't like you obviously got.
I love it, Gal, man. You're the best, bro. You're the
But
best.
no, it's all good. It is absolutely down to squad building, and it's squad building in attacking areas. You need to freshen up the squad with new players, but the problem is that the players in the top end of the pitch have been so heavily relied on for so long that he doesn't want to deviate and go elsewhere. Like, he's worried about the reaction of Saka being on the bench for a game and starting somebody else instead. But actually, that's the best thing for Arsenal. That's what Arsenal need right now in order to build that squad. And it goes back to the point that Dan was talking about earlier with Chelsea. And I was going to mention something before, because I actually do think you are in a title race. And you know what? Despite what everyone else thinks, I actually think you've got the longevity this season because of the level of your squad. And people are talking about they're in Europe and all the extra games. You're in the Conference League. I'm sorry. You boys have got way more quality than anyone else in that competition and really should be winning it. And getting to those latter stages, you're going to be playing against slightly better teams, but they're not Champions League level teams. They're not even Europa League level teams. So your squad changes could still wipe the floor with these Europa Conference League players and teams and still be absolutely competitive in the Premier League. Look, you haven't even put Cole Palmer in that European squad. So that he is solely focused on Premier League football. And so therefore, as you get deeper into that competition, there's no reason why Chelsea can't fight on all fronts. And that is where Arsenal's problem is that they've got some squad depth in some areas, but they are light in others. And although people are kind of like laughing, joking with regards to Arsenal and Odegaard and all the rest of it, it's actually a genuine reality that without him, they are not the same team. It would be the same with Declan Rice. It would be the same with Saka. And that is where Arsenal...
No, not the same with Declan Rice. Stop.
Okay.
Jorginho
I'm just using it. I'm just using it as an example.
You might just want to end off by saying
those positions, those key positions, whatever you think those key positions are, those key positions haven't got adequate backups, and without
it hasn't been addressed.
You're having to play them week in, week out, and then you're having the same issue season upon season that they're burning out towards the end.
But guys,
really need them. That's my opinion.
This applies to Man City with Erling Haaland and Rodri. This also applies with Liverpool with Mo Salah and Van Dijk. Let's stop acting like
we're not talking about Man. There's a Man City fan on this panel.
Liverpool did
Can we stop doing this thing? Can we stop doing this thing? Everybody has players. Everybody has players who carry the team and take them over the threshold. And if those players are out for a significant period for any team, you are going to have to struggle and you're going to have to weather the storm. Now, Martin Odegaard was out, and we seen that Arsenal, for a couple games, we beat PSG, we beat Tottenham, we beat Aston Villa, and we suffered. Now, after a while, we had to continue to go through that suffering, and eventually we started dropping points. Now, I am not putting this whole season being a little poor on Odegaard being injured. I'm saying
strength and depth over the course of a whole season is where some of these players missing or dropping in form because they've played a lot of minutes. Some of them are playing week.
It's also on the manager
and not. Sometimes that's where you need to freshen up the squad and have an alternative. But what I'm saying is that Arsenal don't have that all over the pitch. Whereas, and this is my point. It's not necessarily to Arsenal. I'm saying what Arsenal don't have is what Chelsea do have. Is that, yes, it might not be the Cole Palmer level, but João Felix can definitely produce moments that can win them games and continue that role. You've got Nkunku, who hasn't found his best form, but is still a top-level player.
I think we're in an awkward
stage. I don't think that level. I don't believe it.
I think this season we've been at a little awkward stage because I think when, like, I know you said about selling Smith Rowe, and by the way, I'm looking at it and I think maybe that was a mistake, but I do think, and he should have maybe trusted him. He should have maybe trusted him more this season, but I do think it's like we can't sign a player for Odegaard replacement and that, because Nwaneri is that player. And it's just he's still a little young this season, and I think next season but you can't sign someone just for one season.
Bro, I agree with you, but that's where you went wrong, because in the title race, there's no time for waiting. What Pete's basically saying, Agal, I understand what you're saying. If you lose your
frustrating. No team in football has a direct substitute for every player.
You're not understanding. You're not understanding what we're saying, right? You're saying if your key players are out, you're going to have a drop in form. But what we're saying is, if you had more quality and depth, that would compensate for that player being out.
That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant, because if you have a good manager, he finds a solution.
Wait, Gal, so are you suggesting that Arteta isn't a good manager?
I'm saying Arteta made mistakes and he should have done better versus Bournemouth. He should have done better versus Southampton.
But was he not able to do? If he
should have done better in those games.
Yeah, okay, I hear you, right, and you should have done better in those games. If he'd have built his squad better with Edu, and he had players that could replicate the role that certain players do or are similar to, do you think he would have done better in those games? Like if Odegaard had gone, but you could have played Smith Rowe or someone of a similar quality to Smith Rowe that you bought in the summer, could you have done better?
Smith Rowe asked to leave. Arteta granted his wishes. Number one.
Okay, so but let's swap it, right? Say you lost someone in midfield, you're sixth, right? Partey can come in and cover. Say Partey then gets injured. You can then put Jorginho in. He can do a very similar role. Should you not have that? Like Pete said, you got Rice. You can lose Rice. You can play Partey, like you can play Jorginho. Should you not have that example all over the pitch if you want to fight on all fronts against the team that are as capable as Manchester City have been in recent seasons, or now Liverpool and Chelsea on the up?
We got Trossard that can play it. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, you do. Right, I hear that. Right? But do you need 3 or 4 more players of the similar ilk to Trossard?
I get you. Once again, from an Arsenal fan, sorry, again, one sec. From an Arsenal fan's point of view, what I've seen in certain games, I get the reason this season is how it is in that position, because once again, it's Nwaneri. He is the guy, and it's just a little bit more.
Yeah, but Romz is bang on, by the way. You just don't have time to wait in a title race to bring those players through. You just don't have time.
Once again, you don't have time, but once again, it was a little unlucky for the long period that Odegaard was out.
But if you bought a 28-year-old to do that job and rotate whilst he's injured, you then still have Nwaneri at 19.
Who's rotating right now for Rodri for Man City? Who's rotating for Mo Salah?
They've signed loads of players. They've not been good enough for Gal.
But that's also, but that's a criticism of City right now. And if Liverpool were to lose Salah and there's no one to step in and replace him, Liverpool fans will criticize the squad building. Look, we could spend all day on this, but we have got to move on to other subjects here that are legitimately. I want to do a few super chats as well first. AFC Singh says, hate all you want. Arteta added the Plan C Pula style to already Plan B Pep style and Plan B Jose style. It's just brilliant. We just need the trophies now. This here says our squad was always good enough for top 4. Potts said it wasn't. So what credit does Potts deserve? Stop the waffle. This here from, I can't pronounce that name. Sorry, my bro. Madonko is the surname. The first name is, my dyslexia is being killed by that one, bruv. But it says Potts truly made me believe our players wasn't good. I hear you that. I hear you. Sheriff here says, chatting Waz, during the Champions League, there was huge unrest at the club. This is about Chelsea. Players wanted to leave. So how can you build on that? We had to start again, 1 billion or not, just like business and personal key for Chelsea FC. Before we move on to yesterday's game and previewing Arsenal and Man United's games this weekend, Spurs, Henry, take on Chelsea this weekend, Super Sunday game. I know you play tonight against Bournemouth as well, so we can kind of couple this in with what's going to happen tonight and what's going to happen to you boys Sunday, because since we last saw you, you smashed City, and then subsequently you've bottled 2 games running. How are you getting on tonight, and can you beat Chelsea this weekend at White Hart Lane?
White Hart Lane. Yeah, that's just Tottenham to a T, isn't it? Beating City in the Cup and in the League, and then losing to Crystal Palace and Ipswich. I am not confident about tonight, I'll be honest. I'm really not confident. Bournemouth have beaten Arsenal and City there. They took the game to Chelsea. I think they lost, and they missed a penalty that game as well. It wouldn't surprise anyone, and I'll be honest, if we lose to Bournemouth and then beat Chelsea. that is something that would like everyone be like, yeah, that's just Tottenham. But tonight, I'm not confident. I don't think it's going to sound a bit strange, but I don't think tonight's result changes much about Sunday, because I think we've got such an inconsistency in our game. We could go in and still get a draw or something. But tonight, I look at Bournemouth, Evan Nilsson. You know, he got a hat trick of winning penalties, and then Clivert bagged them all. They've just beat Wolves 4-1. They're going to be confident, but look. We've only won 2 of our last 7 Premier League games. And if we lose tonight, it then puts more pressure on Chelsea, more pressure on Ange. I don't know what to say. I've given Ange praise and we've won games. I've criticised him when we've lost. At the moment, we are all over the place. You know, the in-game management against Fulham, you know, taking off James Maddison for Bergvall with 5 minutes to go. Brennan Johnson, other than the goal, did absolutely nothing. Timo Werner, like, I don't know how much of this is on Ange, how much is it on absolute horrendous recruitment. But
Mate.
That's Champions
I'm
League.
sorry to laugh, Henry.
Wait, that's Champions League royalty right there.
That
Careful
is
what you're doing
Champions
with
League
Werner. Henry.
royalty.
Come on.
He created that goal. He created the goal. And he
no,
doesn't
but all
get enough
jokes aside, if we lose tonight, we're a point off of 12th. We win tonight, we're 3 points off of 4th.
See, that's
So-
what we're-
Are we
Henry,
just going to keep saying every game we lose, we give him praise? Every game we lose, we criticize him. Every game we praise. Like, there's absolutely no consistency in our results. The only consistency
Spurs are in
is we see
purgatory.
Thor FC.
Spurs are just in purgatory. They're not going to heaven or hell. They're not going
That's why I'm laughing, right? Because I mean no disrespect to Spurs, but when someone
just-
brings up
just how
Spurs
it is.
or mentions their name, it's just funny.
Henry,
How do we
at least-
fucking break out of these bullshit curves?
No,
Henry, I
nowhere.
don't
You
think
don't.
you
That is where you belong. That's where
That's
you
not where
belong.
Henry
belong.
This is what you
You
guys
do.
are. You're consistently
We said we
inconsistent.
pay more than any other team in Europe for a season ticket.
No, hang on. So Jim has put all the prices up. Kids have got to pay £66 now at Man United.
Yeah,
so...
we're broke. Terry, our clubs
Yeah,
are
but
combined.
Henry, you do,
I know,
you do have
we're
a good
doing
stadium,
forces.
though.
We're
How
doing
much? 60
forces.
quid.
66 quid for
Henry.
kids. It's gone up by 160% at our club.
Henry, you're like one of them tourist
Levy's going to get ideas now, though, and he's going to we're doing the same, mate. We're in London.
Henry, I heard you guys made more money than Real Madrid last year.
Henry, you're like when I go Italy and I know them tourist trap restaurants that are actually crap and they charge high prices because they get all the tourists. That's you. That's your club. You're not.
No,
you're where you're meant to be. But you
but
can
but
charge them prices because you're a tourist trap for.
Hang on,
fans.
you
the thing
basically
about
just called him a
Tottenham,
how much
Weatherspoons.
did
You
you
just
say,
called him a
66?
Weatherspoons, bruv. You just called him a Weatherspoons.
No, Weatherspoons are decent prices. They're like one of them pubs that try and booze.
Spurs. No. Do you know what Spurs
Guys,
are? Spurs,
On a serious note, do you guys
Spurs
think
stadium.
Spurs?
Spurs are stadium food. They
Do you
just
think
they
Spurs-
charge more and it's the same thing. It's
Do
the
you know what?
same
They're like
thing.
that. They're like that Angus Steakhouse all around London, innit? Where the tourists think it's like a bougie steakhouse, but actually, when you go in, like,
It's shit. Yeah.
Like TGI Friday.
Could you see Spurs dropping points to Fulham and then getting something versus Chelsea?
They're not playing Fulham.
Who are they playing?
think Aston Villa, potentially Villa, maybe.
We just drew with Fulham.
You know what, Gal? Right? If I know Spurs have actually done better against the bigger
I forgot
teams,
who
but
they're playing.
the reason why I think they're going to lose
Right,
back to back, and David and Dan will agree with this. Chelsea are just their kryptonite. No matter if Spurs are playing well or playing bad, Chelsea just beat Spurs. I think even at the Bridge, I think it's 2 wins in like 20 odd years at the
One
Bridge.
second.
31 years.
1 second.
31 years.
Am I
No,
not right?
but-
Didn't they? Am I not right? Did they not just draw to Fulham in the weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
diabolical
That's what
game
I said.
management once again.
No,
They did better than I thought. Remember, Terry, I said they would lose that game. So you know what?
Well,
That's actually got a point.
They
by the
drew
way.
to Fulham. Who are they playing today? They're playing
Bournemouth. Bournemouth away.
You're probably gonna drop points to Bournemouth and then go
Yeah.
and beat Chelsea.
Yeah, apparently Dominic Solanke was sent home for the Fulham game, and then he's videoed in the stadium, you know, walking around in the stands. We just spent £60 million on him, and we're starting Son up front, which we all know hasn't worked this season. Have you seen the depth we've got in wingers? Odegaard,
Yes,
Werner, other than Son,
Brennan Johnson.
like honestly, what like?
Timo
Well,
Werner's
Spurs
been good
fans
for you.
calling Johnson
Timo Werner's been good
new
for you lately.
Ronaldo.
Who?
Brazilian Ronaldo.
Timo
Well,
Werner's
that's
been good for you lately.
I mean,
Kyle
yeah,
Walker Kyle Walker reignited this season, isn't it?
like he's always going to be a threat of putting low balls in, but a guy can't finish. Like, I don't know if you watched the Roma game. Kone absolutely destroyed us. He just controlled the game, and we couldn't get near Roma. And let's be honest, we should have won that game. We give Ipswich and Palace their first win. I've said this before on my channel. We're Robin Hood of the Premier League. We'll end up beating Chelsea and lose to Bournemouth.
You won't beat us.
Are you sure you're going to lose today?
No, I think I've got a gut feeling they'll beat Chelsea.
No.
An anomaly. An anomaly.
I always say it. I respect every top 6 team except Spurs, bro. Spurs are actually just little bro. I am not scared of Spurs in any way. Even if they beat me and they come on the show being like, "Oh, we won," I'm like, "Yeah, but you're still Spurs."
David, they're like the cute club that everyone just wants to bet. As a Liverpool fan, I don't care about them. I want the best for them. They're just cute.
There's no worry for me at all. Like every time I see Spurs on the calendar, I'm giving myself at a minimum 4. A minimum
Clip it.
But it's
have you seen our next? Have you seen our month? By the way, we've got Man United in the cup. We've got Liverpool at home. We've got Forest away. We've got Bournemouth away, and we've obviously got Chelsea on Sunday. And then we're straight into January. We've got a North London derby away, and we've got Newcastle. Like that run of fixtures.
You have in Europe as well, because there'll be some.
We've got Romz. We've got Rangers, right? Who have just
the Ibrox or your
Ibrox.
And bearing in mind,
that's the loss. That's the loss. They're going to be rocking.
Everyone's sitting there taking the piss out of Man United, who are only 1 point behind us in the Europa League. So, like, why is no one saying anything about Ange? Why is there no heat on Ange?
Because do you know what this is though, right? Man United had one of our worst starts to a league and European campaign in our history, and we're now marginally behind you after a few good results. The reason there isn't the scrutiny, and this isn't a dig, this is just the honest truth, is because the size difference between our football clubs. It's like Man United is Las Vegas, and you are a flea having a light your fart competition. That's the difference in size and shine. That's what, and there's no. You guys could lose, not winning 7 like City did, and there'll be barely any media coverage. Within your own world, Tottenham, there's scrutiny, criticism, but the rest of the world says it's Spurs. You guys win 7 on the bounce, and that's not. It's not even being rude. It isn't even banter. It's just, yeah, but they'll fall off because they're Spurs. Me and Kate had a big debate a couple of weeks ago about rebuilds, and she said, "Well, should Ange be given time like Ruben? Because
what are you rebuilding?
But you're in a rebuild." And this was my challenge to her. Was very much. But you've told me nothing's changing at your club culturally, the way you're operating. The end goal hasn't changed from making money to winning trophies. Therefore, I don't think this is why I don't overly focus on Big Ange. I do on individual games, but it doesn't matter if you've got Big Ange or Pep. You're going to foul still, because the end result, like Man United under the Glazers, full control, was not to become the best team in England at football. It was to make the most amount of money possible, to make the most amount of profit. And you're doing that. So it's, as far as your owners are concerned, I get that. But as far as your ownership is concerned, yeah, because you can't keep all that money. You have to spend it on the businesses that go in concern, because they're not trying to make profit year on year out of the business. They are trying to grow the value of Spurs to a point where they can sell it for billions and billions of pounds. So it's not about taking out, oh, look, if we don't spend any money on players this year, we'll take out the profit. Because if you do that, you go backwards, the valuation will lower. Their long-term goal is to make it worth £5-6 billion. And again, if the new deal comes, if there's talk about the Premier League soon doing its own Netflix, like its own, so there'll be no more Sky, no more BT. Yeah, but the Premier League will do it themselves. That they anticipate that could generate an extra £100 million a year for clubs, which means all of our clubs are suddenly worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of pounds more to be sold. And that is what Levy and co are waiting for. It's what the Glazers have been waiting for this whole time. The reason they don't want to sell the whole thing is because now the valuation is going to keep growing. And that's what it always comes down to. When you've got owners who only care about making profit when they bought it cheap, it's different if you buy it now for 7 billion or you want to sell it for 14 billion in 20 years' time. Well, you've got to make them win on the pitch to keep that value growing. But when you bought it as cheaply as your owners did, when you buy it for £0 of your own money like the Glazers did, you don't need to do that. And that's why, like, all jokes aside, that's why no one really takes you seriously, because your focus isn't to become what City have done. It isn't to become the best team in the country. It's to earn the most amount of money. And as far as your owners are concerned, your project's a success. They see it as a success. And they do. And if you make Champions League football along the way, it's like, double bubble. You know, it's like getting a bit of turkey money at Christmas from your job. It's like, great.
A bonus.
It is. It's a bonus that you weren't expecting. Super chat here. Spurs might win. Anthony Taylor is the referee. Oh.
I don't think Anthony Taylor, don't get me wrong, he's had a few bad decisions against Chelsea in the past. That shouldn't be the reason that we go out and beat Chelsea. Like I think we've won one Premier League away game. Actually, no, I don't think we have won a Premier League. Oh no, we have. We beat Man United. So other than Man United, we've lost at Selhurst Park.
Yeah, but you didn't beat us with Ruben, so that don't count.
Yeah, so we've lost.
Moving on from that conversation, I think we've all picked who's going to win that. Obviously, the big game last night, Arsenal versus Manchester United. Let's get it out of the way. Everyone's thoughts on Man United to begin with. I'll leave it to you lot. Go on.
You got battered.
I thought you were decent. I thought like
the difference in contrast there. Go on. Anyway, I'll go to Giuseppe first because I like the sound of that more.
No. Do you know what? I think you were decent defensively. And I think that, like, structurally, you were a lot better. And I thought your players were definitely fighting for this manager and they understand what they need to do with this manager. I just think your attack is trash. Like, I'll be real. I thought yesterday, you kept us to only being able to really score corners. And we didn't have any clear-cut chances. So I think you got to get a bit of credit for that. You come to the Emirates as well. I don't think you laid a glove on us, and I will also argue that it was probably the most comfortable Arsenal-Manchester United game that I've actually watched in a while because you didn't lay a glove on us. But I think structurally, defensive-wise, I thought you were quite good. I thought it's like polar opposite to the front. I think you were probably like a 6, 7 out of 10 at the back, and you were like a 1 out of 10 up top. And I think your manager was looking at the game, realizing this team needs like a whole.
So why did you not score from open play then, Giuseppe? If they were like the easiest game you've had,
but when I say the easiest game we've had against Manchester United, by the way, is because I didn't feel once threatened in that game. And against Man United, no matter what, I always feel like they can score. Like even when we weren't scoring, I thought a goal was going to come for us. And no goal was going to come from them. That's what I mean by I feel like it was the most comfortable watching wise, maybe not performance on the pitch, but watching wise.
And also, Dan, the reason why we didn't score an open play, we didn't have to.
I'm just saying, like, I just wanted to know why Giuseppe felt that way. It's not a dig. I just wanted to know.
Do you know what though? This is where I'll back United. The reason they didn't score an open play is because once they went 2-0 up and we opened up and attacked more, they did get more openings. But this is why Man United fans moaning today. It's like, well, we reduced Arsenal to only being able to score through, again, I'm not criticizing set pieces. When Bruno was scoring penalties and getting assists from corners and free kicks, people tried to diminish it, and I defended it. Therefore, I'm not going to be a hypocrite now by saying that set piece goals aren't real, because it's a stupid bit of banter that if you make it mainstream and you make it kind of the acceptable way to view things, at some point, it's going to discredit somebody at your football club. It's crazy talk, in my opinion. But Man United's system worked from the perspective of we slowed Arsenal down. This idea we sat behind the ball and parked the bus is ridiculous. You don't have 52% of the ball at the Emirates and work it to the edge of their box on numerous occasions when you're sitting behind the ball.
You had more possession.
In the first half, we had 50. I think we had more possession in the whole game than they did, especially in the first half. I think we had about 55% of the ball. But this is the thing, right? What Amorim saw was a lack of quality and confidence from particular players. So I was really impressed with what Bruno did in the middle of the park. Simple, kept it easy passes, no Hollywood balls. The problem is we didn't have anyone in the middle of the park that can pick the ball up and drive with it. They're just not. But neither Ugarte or Bruno can do that. When you take Bruno away from the 10, there's no one who has the quality to thread the eye of the needle, make that pass to the far post as an example. And I did then, I thought Mount and Garnacho was really poor on the ball. Mount was non-existent, barring his press. And it's true, but at the same time, this is why I'm not.
Sorry,
I understand why you're laughing. I do get the banter there, but for me, right, I've also seen United fans getting angry. Why did he take Rashford out, who got a brace, and Xerxes? Our manager's having to do his own version of a mini preseason to test things. Rotation. I'm going to try someone in this position today. Next game, I'm going to do this. And all your clubs, by the way, especially Arsenal in the early days of Arteta, And Chelsea have been through it in the last couple of years where there's been experiments. We're going to try a player here. We're going to try him there. We're going to try and do this. And you've got to find your way. I was disappointed to lose last night. It highlighted some of the problems we've got with individual players. But it did make me very confident that if we continue in this same path with Ruben and improve the squad when we get the chance to in the Januaries, I think we can become a really good team under him. I really do, because the most important thing is I'm getting what I'm asking for, and he keeps freaking me out, Ruben, because he keeps fucking saying things that I'm thinking. And I'm like, is he in my brain? Like when he said it after the game yesterday, he essentially said the shape was there, the structure was right, we got it to the edge of their box, but the players didn't perform. But then what he did is we've got to work more on that, work on ways of breaking things down, help them more, coach them more. And I kind of like that rather than throwing them under the bus. But the one thing I asked him to make us is harder to break down. Conceding from corners is annoying, but look, Arsenal's corners, I say it in a positive way, they're fucking ridiculous.
Can I jump in?
Yeah,
Can I jump
go on,
in?
mate, go on.
Bit, right? This is the bit I want to get on because I only watched the last 20 minutes. It clashed during our game. But rival fans that are getting onto Arsenal for scoring corners, it's mad to me. Because if you're excelling at something and it's turning into a winning formula, why the hell aren't you going to use it? And do you know where I think it comes from? A bit of jealousy. Because if we all had a set piece coach like Arsenal, are we just going to say, you know what, don't use your tactics here. You're so good at scoring corners, but we're not going to use you. We're not. We would all do the same thing.
Do you know what's crazy? Sorry to interject again. Just to add on that, right? When you watch those corners again, yes, where they position themselves and the runs they make are hard. That isn't the beauty of the set pieces. And I know their set piece coach gets a lot of credit. If you watch the way the ball floats, curves, and the speed it travels from both Rice and Saka on the ones that nearly go in and the ones that go in, those crosses are out of this world. They're almost impossible for goalkeepers to get. There's so much pace on them that you don't even need full contact. It just needs a flick. And that's why you'll see like an Arsenal player wrestling with a United player. Now, you know, as a defender, you've got to try and get a full head as hard as you can in a certain direction to clear it. An attacker just needs to get something legal on the ball and it might go into the back of the net. So they don't even need to be properly set. They fight in the right way. They're also flaunting the rule that got put against them last year when Joe Linton pushed Gabriel in the back, where they know what they can and can't get away with now. I don't criticize it. I've seen people in the last few years talk about, assists from free kicks shouldn't really be assists. Well, not if the fucking cross is brilliant. Did you see Declan Rice's cross for the opening goal? The way that ball whipped in. It's a mental to not praise that as a skill.
That's
I said yesterday.
You have to have the players to be able to do it as well. Declan Rice and Saka need a lot of credit because everyone, if it was so easy, we would all be doing it. The fact Arsenal have the personnel to do it, you can't really shun it. Yes, as rivals, we're going to clown them. You want to see things done in a more aesthetic way, should we say. But I think it's jealousy because if we all had this coach, we would all be doing the same thing. It's as simple as that.
I said yesterday in the group chat, I said that people are how? And I said simple, world-class delivery. And that's what it is, consistent, world-class delivery. First of all, when we get told, Stoke FC, well, no, not really, because to get that many corners, you need to attack. And the reason is we attack a lot, we get a lot of low blocks, get a lot of corners, and now we can score from these corners. The fact is, a lot of people were gutted yesterday because everyone likes to go, Gabriel this, Gabriel weren't there. And they're still going in, which tells you it's the delivery rather than the personnel in the box. And
it's become a thing when obviously yesterday was the first time this season it's been against my club, but you can see the corner. I don't know how Chelsea fans and Liverpool fans felt, and Spurs have all played them now. When I conceded corners last night, my gut dropped.
Like,
fuck's sake, because you know how good they are. You know how good they are, and I just the criticism of it. It's as bad as people trying to say that Bruno Fernandes and Cole Palmer's penalty goals are not real goals. I find it the most ludicrous type of punditry I've ever heard in my life. Do you know what worries me? I used to take this stuff as banter, right? Sorry. I used to take this stuff as banter. The problem is we've all seen the mainstream copying what fan channels do. Watch-alongs are now being done by the overlap. No disrespect, but they're copying everything we do. Even their punditry is bordering on sort of fan-level content because they realize it's more engaging, so they're trying to copy and do the same thing. I don't like the idea of set pieces being attacked and slagged off because they've been part of football forever. They have never, until Bruno Fernandes started scoring penalties and until Arsenal started scoring from corners, I have never seen set piece goals or penalties looked at as problematic or wrong in 100. I've not been alive the whole time, but not in 140 years until now has it suddenly been spoken about as a problem. And I just want to push back against the narrative because I don't ever want it to become the consensus, because I think it's damaging to football punditry, fan analysis. It's ridiculous.
Terry,
But
it
what
wasn't
you said
that
as well,
problem.
what you said as well, sorry, Tel, about the thing of when we get a corner, you start worrying. I think that is a bit of a factor as well into why we're getting so many, scoring so many as well. Because not only you, but the players, it's got to be
The
like when we
fans. Yes.
when we get a corner now, all their players maybe are overthinking. Oh God, Arsenal always score corners. Oh, where's Gabriel? Oh, we got to stop him. And our players have got their opposite effect. We can score these. The delivery's going to be quality.
It's exactly
I
the
just
same
want to add one
thing.
thing to what Giuseppe said.
Go on, Miguel,
When
go on,
we
Miguel.
played Tottenham and we scored the winning goal against Tottenham, their fans were recording themselves before the goal, not looking at the corner, because they were so scared they were going to concede from the corner. They weren't even looking. They turned around like it was a penalty.
It
Our
reminds
corners-
me.
Our
Yeah.
corners, Eric, I said it numerous times, Terry. Mo Salah is on Liverpool. Haaland is on thing. We have corners. That is our equalizer.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I hear you, but look, it reminds me of what used to happen in a lot of United games under Sir Alex when time added on got added. If we were losing or drawing, you would. I was at hundreds of those games, watched the rest of them on TV, and there was always this noise from rival fans first that was, and you heard the Man United fans in that era of our team. It was like an injection of adrenaline, and the noise went up because this is our time to score. It's ridiculous because both teams could have scored in that fucking period, but it was a psychological edge. It was called Fergie time. This is when Man United score, and we invariably got the chances or won games or save matches in those moments. And Arsenal have done that when it comes to corners. It's become psychological.
Terry, I think
It's also another thing that rattles people because they feel like we're dependent on it. It's not that we're dependent on it. We just have another element to our game that other people are not utilizing to the best of their ability.
No, I
Terry,
agree.
do you not remember in our title winning season and when we won the Champions League as well? If it was that 1-1 with that 10 or 5 minutes to go, the other team kind of just succumbed to the pressure that, you know what, Liverpool are going to go on and win. The amount of last-minute winners we got in our title winning season, I think if you've got something you can use to your advantage and it literally just takes the stuffing out of the other team, you're going to use it at the end of the day. You're going to.
No,
Do you think it comes down to the team that it is, though? Because players lower down the league will be absolutely praised for it. Like James Ward-Prowse has made a career off of being unbelievable
You're
at
spot
set
on.
piece delivery, right?
Yeah.
So it's because we haven't got stick against Southampton and West Ham are irrelevant 9 seasons out of 10. So I just wonder if it's to do with where the squad sort of lie. Like Stoke back in the day were actually praised for it, whereas Arteta, probably because of the money that he spent and people are sort of saying, like Agal stated, they could be dependent on it in a game like last night. Ultimately, it was a really useful tool, and you were dependent on it to get the
but do you know
result.
what I would
But at
say,
the same
though,
time,
right?
you want to
obviously
be able to depend on your tools.
We watched the Chelsea game together, Dan, didn't we? And it was interesting watching it together. None of us were sitting there on Twitter watching what other people were saying. We thought it was quite a good competitive game, and then the calls on the show started. Everybody was fuming and angry, and we were looking at each other thinking, that ain't how we felt about it. But I've noticed with a lot of the top 6 clashes this year, maybe not the one involved the recent couple with City because of City's really bad form, and not the early ones with Man United and Ten Hag because we were awful. But there's been loads of cagey affairs again. And I feel like as the leveling out between the top 6 teams, the traditional top 6 teams, I'm not trying to offend anybody that's currently sitting in the top 6, Forest and Brighton fans, as the levels and the quality starts to come a little bit closer together again, you're going to get more cagey games. Arsenal versus Liverpool became cagey. Chelsea versus Arsenal started cagey, open up a bit, become cagey again. In those types of matches, set pieces can be the difference maker. When you get to, if you get to a point, and we haven't seen this because Liverpool and City have been so much better than everybody else in the last.
There's a
8
game
years.
that epitomizes what you're saying.
Go on.
Quickly, you would remember it.
No,
Like,
go on,
all the
go on.
United fans remember it. Do you remember a game at Anfield? I think you were wearing black, and O'Shea or Tevez scores a last minute from a set piece.
O'Shea scored the winner. I think the season later, Tevez scored. I think it happened twice.
Yeah, I think both were late and both were from set
Yeah.
pieces. You're spot on. Set pieces can be the difference between you winning a title or in a 6-point.
We beat you. Rio Ferdinand last minute header from a set piece.
Exactly.
Listen, Man United won our first league title in 27 years. Steve Bruce with a header.
Header,
Trying to
yeah.
say he's late on.
So you guys are talking about like
why as a Man
Chelsea
United
champions, I
fan?
don't know.
If you're a Man
Chelsea
United
champions,
fan, if you're a United fan, you love the club. You cannot be against set piece goals.
Even your
Our
Champions
history-
League final against
our
Bayern.
history is
Bro,
The
bro,
shrouded
same,
we
in
had-
the
them.
same with Drogba
Romz,
against
Romz,
Bayern.
that
Yeah,
game, we had
Yeah.
20%.
Ivanovic, Benfica,
We had
Europa League.
20% of the ball. That
Same
game.
with Van Dijk and the Carabao.
We had
This is what I don't get though. What do
Deep
rivals want us to do? Get corners and
No,
be like,
do you know what-
"Oh,
no,
we're
do you know
deliberately
what-
not going to
no,
score this
no,
goal
no,
now.
Giuseppe,
No, well, we're
Giuseppe,
going to not put a good ball in."
Giuseppe, let me be honest with you. The reason why you guys don't get away with it is because you're just Arsenal fans, and I mean this is like you're the nicest way possible. Every time you lot do
No,
something, it goes from being like if you just went, "We're really good at set pieces," enjoy it, have fun. But you guys go like, "We're the greatest set piece team that's ever."
No. David, a Premier League club owner complained to the Premier League about our.
Do you see what I mean? Like, why do you like just like?
No,
chill.
You're joking. Wait,
No.
Nah, Gal, who?
Nah,
That's
I
what
hear
it
that, I hear
reported.
that.
A Premier
Listen.
League club owner went to the Premier League and said, "What they're doing for set pieces is illegal. We need to change the rules."
That's
David,
mad.
I hear that in the sense of like fans and that, but like when like to what Terry alluded to, when you see what like Roy Keane and Gary Neville was saying on their watch
that was just head loss. That's head loss.
Yeah,
bro. That's
I'm like, bro, like
You're
these men are
head
even
loss.
doing it. Everyone's so rattled, but
Yeah,
you know what?
do you know what?
They're rattled.
Yeah, listen, I've said it before. I say it again. People hate Arsenal, and I don't like. People think I love Arsenal. I don't. I just committed to doing a job. Whether people like me calling this a job or not, it's the reality. Where I'm going to be as neutral and unbiased as I can be. And when I'm being, when you scored those corners yesterday, if I was doing a watch along, you'd have seen me gone, for fuck's sake, you did. I swearing I was annoyed. But when I do my work, I'm going to be honest and open. There's nothing wrong with it. The problem for a lot of people is they cannot, rightly or wrongly, I'm not getting into the debate. They cannot stop their tribalism, their hatred, their frustration, their anger, their fear, whatever you want to call it, towards Arsenal. They can't separate it. It's like dropping, something into water and oil into water. You can't, once it's in, it's done. You can't take it out again. It's mixed together. It's messed up. You probably can take oil out of water if you're really smart. But anyway, a person like me can't. The egg is cracked, right? You can't get the egg yolk back inside the fucking shell again. It is done. And they can't separate it. The problem is that when people are angry, when they're full of fear and anger, they don't realize what they're saying. And the problem is with a lot of this punditry, and this is why I'm trying to do my best at this, is the amount of times you end up undoing your own legends or your own results or your own games by saying, oh, imagine a Man United fan saying, imagine Arsenal win the Champions League this year on penalties. Oh, imagine winning it on penalties, mate. Shit. Oh, fuck, I forgot we beat Chelsea on penalties. Like, that's the kind of way it got, and it's stupid, and it just frustrates the living daylights out of me. Aside from that, I wanted to ask, Man United played Nottingham Forest this weekend. How do you think United will get on? At Old
Is it at
Trafford,
home or away?
Old
Oh,
Trafford.
I think you win.
Yeah, I think you win.
Yeah, you
I
win.
think you keep a clean sheet as well.
Forest have had a bit of a blip, haven't they? Like I know they
Yeah.
started really well.
They just
didn't
ain't
they?
that good. They just started well.
Well,
They're a tough team.
maybe.
They're a tough
They'll
team to
probably
play
finish
against.
around mid-table, but I still think United will turn up and win.
It's because you're levels with them right now that you say that, Henry.
You know what?
And aren't you a few points above them?
They've done very well this season, but I think after the Newcastle game, that was the turning point in their season for the worst. I think once they got, back 3-1 at home, I said this is when the Premier League will start to reveal itself. They've done very, very well up to this point, but I think after the Newcastle game, came back from international break, Arsenal beat them 3-0, and then City obviously beat them. I think they had a result in between there. I think they might have actually won, but you're going to slowly see now their formidable defense, whatnot. They're going to have a few cracks in it now. So I think United probably win comfortably. It makes me sick, but yeah.
Mm.
United are at home. You should win, obviously.
Yeah, we should. I think we will. Like, again, I said it before we kicked off yesterday. If we'd have won, I'd have celebrated, but not gone over the top. I'd have said, unless we take a battering in terms of losing 4-5-0, I said I won't be overreacting if we lose, because I know where we are. There's going to be many trials and tribulations, many ups and downs, and United fans have just got to strap themselves in. Of course, you get the negative Nellies online, the TikTokers and the Twitter bots who they only get attention when Man United do badly. So they're loving it last night because they get to tweet out loads of bullshit, attack players, slag the manager off. But as Ruben starts to improve the team, and as Ineos start getting it right, which I believe they will over the course of time, those people will disappear. They'll become like Peter Andre, just irrelevant, just a lasting memory on the pop culture. Arsenal, who do you play this weekend?
Fulham.
Home or away?
Away.
They lost there last year.
Smith Rowe back with his whole club.
Smith
Romz, you know what you said earlier? Them fairy tales, they don't happen, mate. We're gonna smash them. Smith Rowe's gonna leave the pitch.
There is no way Arsenal leave Craven Cottage with all 3 points. There is no way.
No, I think we win comfortably.
Yeah, you win comfortably.
I think we've been playing well, and if I'm not mistaken, they played today, and one of their best players, the center back, is on 4 yellows. If he picks up another yellow in this, 5 yellows. If he picks up another yellow in this game, he could be out versus Arsenal. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for.
This season's just mad because I think Fulham lost at home that 4-1 the other day to Wolves, and then Wolves just get smacked 4-0 yesterday. Like, this season's just actually crazy.
Anyone can beat anyone.
Same with Everton, they lost 4-0 and then won 4-0. And they're going to win 4-0 on the weekend.
The way Arsenal's playing right now, though, I expect them to go away to Fulham and win comfortably. Like, at least I'm hopeful that we're going to do that, because our results, the way that we've been playing the last couple of weeks since the international break, I'm hopeful that it'll go into that Fulham game.
Right, let's do corner.
I think these are the sort of games you've got to win, though.
How many goals per
You're
corner?
much better against the big clubs. Yeah. The Fulham aways, the West Ham ways, these are the sort of... I know you did well against West Ham last year away, but didn't they do you at home and then in the cup? These are the sort of games where Arsenal have lost titles recently. Against the big six sides, I've got no doubt you'll win majority of the games. But the Fulham aways,
was it Fulham last season where they were down to 10 men and then you still couldn't beat them?
Right, guys, sorry to change the subject. There's video footage come out of Everton's new stadium. You know when it rains badly at Old Trafford and it all turns into a waterfall? That's what their new stadium's doing right now.
So they're leaking as well.
And that's new.
So they didn't build it properly.
No, I don't think it is that. I think it's because there's a storm coming. It's literally like a storm level weather, as opposed to it's not a trickle. Anyway, yeah, you should win. You have to win this weekend. I said I feel that Arsenal from the I think you're 3 games in Premier League wise since the return of the football, and I felt that you needed to win 8 to 9 of your next 10 games. This is again until you're within a couple of points of the top, you just have to win by hook or by crook. You've got to win this game because
we have to win till the new year. Especially
if a gal's premonition comes true and Everton take points off Liverpool, and you've got a chance to bring it down to 5
or 4
points.
Don't Arsenal play on the Sunday as well? So this benefits you.
Yeah, we play on the Sunday, so we'll know what happens.
You'll know both results. But then again, if they both win, it puts more pressure on you to go to Fulham and win.
This happened last season. I think if we beat, in my opinion, we will beat Everton. I think Arsenal win. But if we drop points, I can just see them dropping points. It happened last season on the same day. We dropped points against Villa, up against Crystal Palace at Anfield. What do Arsenal do? Yeah, let's drop points against Villa. Let Bailey and Watkins score, and it happens. Arsenal and pressure do not bode well. I think if we win, you win. If we drop points, you drop points.
No, I don't. I think we go on a fat run now. I've been saying it as well.
Fat run.
Yeah, I think from that,
your fixture list is so favourable.
Yeah, because of the start was so unfavourable.
No, true.
but I actually generally believe, and I know it sounds mad, but I generally believe we win every game till the new year.
So do I. I think we do as well. And
I'll take it one level further. We should win.
This is it. What Arsenal fans do, man. You can't just leave it at that statement. You're like, no, I think we do this. You just said you'll win every game for months, and then you're like, no, I'm going to take.
No, he said till the new year. He said so. That's another 5, 6.
Nail your point. Yeah, another 6 games. Yeah.
Honestly, there's no point.
No, I want to hear it now because you come on. Come on.
I think we're also going to score 60 goals before the new year.
And 5,000 corners and
50 will be from corners.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
Come on, Igal. What are you going to say, bro? Please.
There's no point. I take it in. I am taking it in. Dan just takes everything I say as a joke. There's no point.
No, he doesn't take. He doesn't take you as a joke. He's having a bit of fun. There's a difference.
Listen, on a serious note, though, you guys know we're gonna win this game. Well, I've already said we had a tough schedule to start the season, and I do think with the fixture swing, I do think we have the capability to win all of our games until like February. That's what I was gonna say.
No,
You're one of games. I just looked at it. Like I do somewhat agree. Like Everton at the Emirates, Palace away, Fulham away, Brentford. I think Brentford will be tough though because they win 90% of their games. I think they've got the best home record in the league as well,
and they're decent from set pieces as well.
We always beat them at their ground.
Do you know what? February, Arsenal just dropped points twice because that's football.
Do you know what, Giuseppe, though? You know how you said you think you win till the new year? Our next five are Everton, which I think we win arguably. Then we've got Fulham at home. We've got Spurs.
You know what happened? You know what happened?
You'll lose to Everton at the weekend.
And then we've got West Ham away. I think that's 5 out of 5.
Hang on. Why are you laughing? We did you last season.
We know why that was, though.
I think Man United. I think Man United will win all their games this week. I'm telling you, all their games this week will win. That's what I'm going with. 1 week at a time, my club. Comment here says, until yesterday, Everton were leading with the most set-piece goals. Chelsea have 5, Arsenal have 7, Everton have 6. It's working for Arsenal. That's their weapon. It's crazy. Up until yesterday, they had the same amount from set pieces as Chelsea. And yet,
Chelsea obviously hired Brentford's replacement for Yova in set-piece coach.
Ah,
yeah. So we've got, do you know what? Our goal yesterday that Dazassi scored, if you go and watch it, I think that's an incredibly similar corner to Timber's first goal last night.
Yeah,
I think they're very, very similar.
They're
almost the exact same pattern.
Pieces.
Wait, where was
you as well, Go? Yeah.
Where was you over before Arsenal? Brentford, did you say?
Yeah.
Brentford.
And I think I don't know if he's been at City or not. I'm not sure, but he was at Brentford.
He was at City. We took him from City.
Nah, of course he was at City.
You know what? If you don't win the league, he deserves to lift the league.
Mate, he's killing it. I have you seen that his profile picture on Twitter is a corner flag, like a corner spot.
Listen, I love the fact that he rattles people because people are like, why are they showing him during the game? People are actually pissed off.
It's crazy. People are angry. I don't get it. Romz, calling Spurs a cute club is a violation. Imagine telling Expressions his team is adorable. The puppy of the Premier League. Defend your team, Henry. Well, Henry supports Arsenal, though.
Yeah, apparently that's what Chelsea and Liverpool now.
But it's cute like when people say
it's cute. Henry, you just can't be objective. You can't.
But they're cute when it's like the Deadpool dog. That level of cute. It's not really. It's that ugly. That it's cute.
The Champions League win papered over many cracks. Oh, sorry, already done it. The champion. This is about Chelsea earlier. The squad was not good enough. We finished 18 points off the top that year in the league. We needed a rebuild.
Kante was
I would take that kind of papering over cracks. I don't care. I'll take that every day.
I just see this year as a foundation for years to come at Chelsea. The next year already, Andre Santos, that guy. The other one coming in. I can't pronounce the names. Gonna keep improving. This year, anyone wants to take this, they can. Thoughts on Sam Mosley and Mark Gahey's armband criticism?
Let them do what they want to do. It's not an insult to anybody.
I really hate the politics in football.
Yeah,
just leave it away. Just let us watch the game.
Yes.
So just let them do what they need.
I look at it like I look at the Poppy situation. I'm somebody that wears a Poppy. I'm somebody that supports the fact that it's raising money for the military. You know, my nan said something to me when I was younger. My nan, God-fearing woman, big Christian, one of the most liberal people I know. God rest her soul. She was a lovely woman. I moaned to her when I was about 12, saying, "Why don't everyone wear one?" You know, typical thing you say when you're a bit ignorant and young. And she said, "Son," she went, "you know, your grandfather, my granddad couldn't fight in World War II because he had terrible diabetes even as a young man, but he was an air raid warden and he was pulling people out of buildings during the Blitz. Very dangerous job. I had great uncles that fought during the war." And she said, "Look, your grandfather worked during the war, and you know your great uncles, and some died during it, and they fought for one big reason, so that people had the choice as to whether or not they should have to wear a poppy or not." And that resonated with me as a 12-year-old, and it stays with me today at 38 years of age. That choice, and that's the my grandmother said that to me when I was very young. It stood with me forever, and I stand by it. Like it's a choice thing here. As long as nobody is trying to hurt anybody or advocating for people to be hurt or abused or beaten, then I think people have to be fair in this when it comes to this type of thing. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Do me a big favor and hit the like button before you leave. Make sure you are subscribing. We're back, hopefully, after Bournemouth beat Spurs later on the Football Terrace. So come back to us then. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to sit and speak football with you. But the real heroes are always the viewers. You're the best community out there. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we will see you all again soon. Peace.